And this has happened. It's going to continue happening. And it has happened in the past. And it accounts for many of our tales, if you may, about our experience, about the experience of our ancestors with other beings, or when somebody else is coming, and all the missing gaps to all of our stories. The reason why they're missing is because we don't have the disc. Now we have the disc. And that's what I was saying. You got to salute the brother, because he at least sat down and said, let me put it all together as far as getting everything, the chronologics and the time working, because then we can set chronos. And once we set the chronosphere, which has nothing to just do with like some vampire with a scythe and come on. Set the chronosphere, because that's a Marillion sphere. That's your clock that you need to know, well, where's the current moving? Like if the current was going through the ocean, and I talked about this experience, like I was on the ocean the other week, and I saw this passageway going through. And all this stuff was on this passageway, all these fish and trash and all this stuff was going by. And I was like to the boat guy, I was like, yo, what's that? And he was like, that's the current. Now, anybody that's been out there fishing is like, you ain't seen the current before? Big city boy, deep pockets. But the reality is the current, obviously metaphysically inclined being says, that's the pathway right there. And then they would look up and they would notice certain things about the stars, certain things about the plants, and then they would start connecting a universal system, which Santos says is syncretism. So that already happened, synchronizing the chronosphere. Ours is not synchronized, though. And we need to get it in sync, because right now we're serving, in a sense, as a collective, a projection of death. Because one group of beings want to live on the planet by themselves. That's the truth. It's not just on the Georgia Guidestones. It's very well known that there's one group of beings, they just want this as a place they can hunt. They want to build their magnificent things for themselves, have their automations and all that in play, and hunt things as this grows wild again. Okay, that's it. And that is not the projection we're going into, even if it's rewritten in stone. And that's why more powerful knowledge. What I was told and what I came to even find out was that vein of granite running through Stone Mountain, Georgia. You got to understand, where is Georgia? Georgia is at the foot of the Caucasus Mountains. Okay? But there's another Georgia in the Edo. So is there a connection? Yes. The vein of granite, that granite which they built all the courthouses and they built all of the post offices, that same granite was the same granite used to cap the pyramid, because that vein runs that deep. When they're saying, well, where is the stones coming from? They would have had to get them for 50,000 miles away. No, silly. They went down. They know where the veins are. Any real builder knows, you know, simple dowsing. And you know where all the veins are. And then you're like, okay, there's a granite vein running right through here. So these veins are frequencies of this planet. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of fun that we're about to have, because we're going to bring the entire planetary system back online as far as it spin up, right? Get into the monatomic flow, get into the center, get it connected. You can't live separated. You will die out there. I've been in the cold vacuum of space, living on a little bit of breath, like they got Tony Stark in the new Marvel comic movie, Peep Game. They're about to kill everybody, Star. If you don't have something inside, like, you won't be able to look out here. You can look in here and you can find your brothers and you can find your sisters like that. And that's why it's like, man, this is the biggest actionable mission ever. This is why you would call me in. So again, this is Taurus theory, right? So we talked about spindle theory. We talked about Taurus theory. We're going to let Martin talk about the oscilla clock. And one of the things is I just want to reveal some final fruits. Literally fruits. Some final fruits to understand the coding within. The apple, first. You see that, Taurus? You're already catching on. When we cut in half, as you can do right now, contains a seed that looks like this. 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 This So thus a bitten apple would really mean to break off an edge of the pentagram, which would create imbalance, right? So now you understand the logos of the Apple company, right? And why it's all connected to serpent and to bit the apple and all this kind of stuff, right? But have no fear. You probably need to do something once, at least to know not to do it again. So we bit of the apple, and that causes a dissension because it's like your vehicle is not balanced. Because humans are that. Their head would be here, their hands, the other hand, the feet. Okay? And this is why geometry is so important, because you know, it's like you're looking at a truncated pyramid from the top. And then when you understand how the energy flows, oh, that's not that crazy. Let me clean that up a little bit. You get this symbol, basically, which you know as the Maltese Cross, right? Woo, need some rulers or something in here, right? So anyway, what I'm saying is that this symbolism is in every single thing, but there's some ways that you can see it a lot more clearly. There's another one, the egg. As they say, they call it the cosmic egg. And notice the design always of an egg. It is always like smaller up here and fatter down here. And that means a lot. And you're going to learn again more about that here in just a moment. But it also means that in this disproportion, it is a bit more easier to end up down here. Nicholas and the rest, Midland, and the rest of the different underworld planes and the underground cities of Saturn and all the rest of, and Vasukis and all the rest of the underworld beings, right? As they move and stir the bottom of the chasm, okay? And then, I'm going to let him just break this down because it's easier to see the matters. But there's another piece of food, okay? And this is, of course, the cosmic egg, but this is also something else tied into this that people need to understand in cultism. It is called ruling from the egg. It is a literal term to state that one has to come to a stage of awareness while they're inside of the egg, because they actually control things while they're still in the incubation phase. And some never leave the incubation because it becomes their entire projection. So your space that you're projecting right now in your environment doesn't have to be terrible. You don't have to want to flee Earth and worry about all these different things that are happening. That could be your side mission, and that gets you into a whole nother level of consciousness because you believe, you do more than believe. You know and you trust yourself. You see what I mean? Because that's what this is really about. But notice how amazing it is, though. Like, this just sounds like this is... Man, people are going to go from this feeling inspired, wise, and you see different after this. So let's keep going. So you have also this word, which used to, when I started ciphering everything, I was always like, yo, man, what's up with this word? Right? Because, like, if I crack this word just strict Kabbalistically, this just basically means a gold particle. Okay? Like an ion, a piece of gold, a unit of gold, Orion. Okay? And the reason why I wanted to know about it is because under a couple rare occasions where seeing had to be believing, meaning that I used to not believe certain things. Like, I used to believe that everybody was good, that had spiritual knowledge. I found out that they are good and bad. Let's just put it like that. But there will always be something to learn, and you should always keep yourself girded, especially when you're going into different situations that you know there's some buffoonery going on. So I would end up in some of those situations sometimes as the fly on the wall, not believing in anything, almost cloaked where they couldn't even see me, but somehow being there to witness the whole thing about how dark occult magic works. Okay, and how they prey on other people's innocence. But a part of that I couldn't understand, rather than starting to elaborate on the details to that, which will all be disclosed this year, was just the reoccurring scenario of the people mentioning Orion. So in one case, the lady's looking up at the sky, and she says, "Doesn't it look so amazing?" And after all of the crazy stuff that I've just witnessed, the darkness, I'm like, what? And she's like, Orion. And I'm like, there it goes again. As I'm taking my personal logs about why so many people that seem to be affiliated with really dark magic keep evoking Orion. So I sat on it for a while. And here's the truth about it. This constellation or position is akin to this shape. There is indeed a Merkabah force out there. Like there is a force out there. Some say that it's High Father, like the Great Father Lion figures, like the ones that, you know, they're the lion species and the gold-faced gods, right? But some say also that there's an agreeable form and a disagreeable form amongst their faction to keep themselves balanced. That they literally know about all the Merkabah stuff, and they literally have themselves in a design where they're balanced by the positives and the negative ones. And that people on this planet, just like the Tetragrammaton and pyramids and all that gold and all that stuff connects together, have made choices in the past and even now to either become a part of that higher part of that system, let's say the light part, the flow that's going like this, right? Or some have chose to do this. Many have chose to do this because it's easier, okay? So in all of that, what happened is that many of them always evoke or understand this as their call word, Orion, because they are calling on that opposite angle. They're calling on the darkness. But believe it, there is higher light. There is a High Father or a lion face father-like being that is Phi, that is a seeder of cosmoses. So the personalities don't match up a lot to kind of how men are. That's why we're kind of more in that image. Like it's constantly moving and seeding versus staying back and seeing how the whole process is going to go. But then it always has to come back because all of it's all messing up, and it comes back in and tries to repair things because it has still a desire and a frustration from just sitting in one place. It has to always keep moving, and thus in its movement, it keeps creating. And that's the story of High Father and the sons and the daughters, which are us. So in this process, the reason why I mention this is because when I finally cracked this, which was like late at night, it came out as this. Our only other word that bears a resemblance to this, because On is the god of Heliopolis, which is the sun god, and this Or means gold. It means that these words are exactly the same, but in the code. So then a few more hours went by as it was burning holes in my brain until I realized when you cut an onion in half, that's what you get. And that is exactly the torsion field, is exactly the worlds within worlds, the dreams within dreams, all of the reality of how things are projected. And that is the pinning point right there in that star system for levels of consciousness here on the dimension, right? So that's just a little bit of what is revealed as you start marrying these arts. So now we have metaphysics, science, geometry, agriculture or whatever, permaculture. I love that word. Why you want to aggravate something? So this is where we are. So it unfolds from here, and that's why also we plan and are already engaged in designing a system that not only puts all this together with all of our assistants, meaning it allows us all to query it and ask it things that reveal to us what we want to know at that moment. So we can meet every person at the stage that they're at. Because even this one I'm talking about right now may be flying over some people's head. And I'm simplifying this. While there's others, they're like, oh my goodness, I just need to get off the phone. I just need to get off the computer. I just need relax. This is all design. You just told me to remind you of something, and I'm doing the best that I can to do that. That is what I promised. And I always keep my promises. So here's the thing. We got some more going on. The square root of division. Literally. Okay? Notice that word. It's in math. The square root. Okay? Like, it would literally be like a tree that was a square that had roots. Somebody's like, okay, you're ciphering too far. He's going too far. That doesn't make any sense. Let me show you what the root to squareness is, so you don't be a square. So the reality is that the hermaphrodite symbolism is replete now. We understand why Thoth, Hermes, and all the Buddha, the Bodhisattvas, and all that all connect. Even the final one, the watered down one, the one with no minerals at all, the Jesus. Okay? All of those connect into there being a merging between the masculine and the feminine forces, returning to that state. Because are you in that state now? My guy, are you in that state now? It's like, how are you relating to the whole feminine thing? And let's think about it. It's all twisted on this dimension. Because if you get related too well, then you might go to the external side of the whole thing and just completely not understand why that may not be the direction either. So to incorporate all of what needs to happen inside you, you need to activate two forces that are genuinely not really made to be around each other, but somehow need each other. And you become the reason the reason. See, it's like why your parents created you. Why they don't fight. Why they love each other. Why they don't leave each other. Only because of you. So that same force is what you are. You're the force in the gap. You can be the reason why this all gets destroyed and your world gets destroyed, or how we all go into a greater level of connection and recollect everybody that we lost. Again, people are terrified of death at this point. In our customs and our traditions, how was death ever a mourning period? It was a parade. They would throw parties, long parties. You may even dip in and move the chrysalis or something. Like, yo, I'm good. I'm good over here because I'm with everybody, and it basically feels like, you know what it feels like? It feels like when you just wake up, but continuously. You know that feeling when you just wake up? It's like when you get some good sleep and you're like, oh, I'm refreshed. It feels like that all the time. All the time. And everybody is there. So do you really want to mess that up and wait for another at least 3,000 years this bus? That's why they kept relating it. If you've been listening to my messages over the last few weeks, and I'm just doing what I'm being told by higher self. I kept talking about, oh, you don't want to miss the bus. You missed that bus. You never know when that bus is going to come back around again. This is the bus. It's coming around. Right now, we're even starting on 21st just to be prepared this year. And then next year, we're going to get on that bus. Now, some may be saying, well, what if it doesn't happen? I'm going to love it. I'm going to love it because I'm going to tell them you're a liar. But that ain't what's going to happen, Doc. If we prepare for sovereignty and nothing happened, we have succeeded. And we were ready. But I'm telling you, I know something. My spidey senses. Something's up. The more I keep cracking this, I'm like, why the secrecy like this? This is wild now. Because this stuff is literally in front of our face, so it would take a real strong program to not see how all this connects. So let's keep connecting it. Let's get to the square root of division. Now, if Mercury is the center column or the spindle or the hermaphrodite, and it is spinning that center column, what happens if you break half of it? Or what happens if one half becomes this big and the other half becomes this big? What happens? This thing just, oh my goodness. That's what happens. You can watch it happen in anything that you experience or experiment with, especially in the laboratory where you're putting it under these conditions. And so thus, when the atom was split, and there is a statement that you got to know that lets you understand the dirty game that was being played. That statement says, and I put a greater star to rule the day and a lesser star to rule the night. Well, you ain't talking about no balance then. You ain't talking about no balance then. If you create as an alchemist, I don't care who you are, like that, you're not talking about any balance. And that is the world we are living in. And that is why woman is brought to us to be weaker as a male. When on the spiritual plane, we're the ones like, yo, where's the womb? Where's the womb? You see, because they're more powerful there. And then over here, they're more like, yo, where is he at? Because this shit is heavy. Where is he at? I'm going to come lift this couch and work on this job and all this kind of stuff, because that's not what they do. But now, you know, everything's starting to blend. I'm just talking to you about these two different poles and how they work. So this means that the square root to division is, of course, this imbalance within the races, because what is division? What is division? We're going to climb the entire mountain today. Division is time. Time only is a divider. It is to mark one segment from another. So what is division? When somebody says what is division, or when you think about what is division, it is calendars. It separates one thing from another. Okay? But the root to division, because that's what you got to see. Division is like why I can't see my neighbor, and why I can't touch my cat that just left. Why? That's division, okay? So the truth is, what is division? It is time and separation, okay? So now you know, now you have the rod of Hermes. Because opposite of division creates. So this is why you need the force so bad. And you see how hard it is for you? You see what's been done? So hard for you to come together. So hard for you not to be mad at somebody. So hard for you. That's why I said, man, this is hard. Yes, because you're making it hard. You're continuously judging yourself. You're airing your own self out. You're low vibing. You're acidic. And we need to change that. And we have a year. One Anu, which is the blink of an eye, for a being that is on the next ring after the one where it's just an hour. So here we go. Now that you see what division is, you also get another myth that is inside of the theologies of the spiritual traditions. And this is about like a rampage, literally, of the cutting and the felling of trees. Okay? Like there literally becomes this craze, as you see in occult history, where certain cultures start cutting down their mother trees, the mother trees of other cultures, to completely get rid of them forever, for good. Thus trapping them, disconnecting them, because some are up there and other ones are down there, but the tree is cut. So the great mother Yemaya, you know, they try to cut down this tree. You see what I mean? So in our world, that is symbolic of the umbilical cord being cut. Now, this tree is like Jack and the Beanstalk. You climb a tree, you see giants. You see the next stage of who we really are. That's what that's symbolic to. Now, this cutting of the tree is also symbolic even in modern times when they tried to hook a tether to the moon, which was like supposed to be like an elevator where we could get to the moon. They put the tether out there, and they symbolically, it didn't connect. Something stopped it. Look it, it's gone, it's disconnected. Which is also symbolic to the Tower of Babel, which was when the 26 letters, which is us, was broken, as you see now the biblical God and his identity. You Christian pastors, clean up fast. Clean up, clean it up. Because it's coming, and it's going to come fast. And if you ain't right, you're out the framework. You know, but there's a moment here. We're in the gap. You got to realize what's really happening. Now, the cutting of this umbilical cord, right, the sacred cutting of us from our mother, is something that the indigenous, the shamans witness when somebody, especially like from the United States, comes into the jungle and wants to be healed. The first thing they notice is that their umbilical cord is not connected into the earth. So that's the first thing they do, is they try to get that thing to reconnect. You remember that movie Existence? Where they had a little thing that that's what they try to do, is get you reconnected. Okay? So I'm telling you all this knowledge because you have to realize that there has been a real cutoff. And you're looking in a book, and this is why I kind of got hyped for a minute. They had to back me up. Back down, man. You wait, man, because you ain't going to be able to finish the message you're going right now. You're going to hurt. I'm like, okay, all right, let me take a minute. Let's take a minute. So the reason why it makes me so hot is because there's an act in the scriptures that everybody reads and believes and loves. And this is an act of a being. We don't even know his name. He keeps saying he's God. We don't know who this being is. He's just dark. That's why can't nobody see him. So what happens is the being says, let us go down and confuse them. This could be anybody, to be honest. This could be your next door neighbor. Let me go down and confuse this one. So I'm not talking about like such a hyperdimensional act. Like I said before, because time repeats itself, let us go down and confuse them was just as recent as the British oligarchs going into most of these kingdoms and disturbing things. And referring, when they say down, they think of everything low as the south and is lower, when everything comes from the inside out, thus from the south first. So it's higher. But anyway, you know, that it may take them a while to get unturned upside down. So what we're talking about is, we're talking about, again, this could be a recent event as far as them saying to their court, let us go down into these other countries and confuse them, confuse their languages, take their languages away, give them English, which is a broken tower, okay? And then let them use that. And then we'll take different variations of it, like Sanskrit and like other ones that look like other things. And then we'll just give them those languages and pull them up. And then we'll eventually pull them into a dead language like English. And we'll keep telling them that the language is actually being improved when really it's just a half of a square. And it doesn't move very well. It's not even a circle. It's not a wheel. It's not very curved when you add all the shapes up. So the reality is that this thing is a code is moving in the mind of confusion, because it says, let us go down and confuse them. Then it comes down and it uses language as a form of breaking everybody apart. That's happened. When I'm in, even now, I'm in there with my barber. He speaks only Spanish. It's tough, because we even have to play like we really understand each other sometimes. And it's not the same. And so the reality is that in the setting of how we truly exist, language doesn't play much of a component truly as to what really connects us. But yet now it is such a component that we can't have almost any connection generally with someone randomly unless we really understand their language. And I'm not, saying that indefinitely, but you know what I mean. So this is the felling of the tree, okay? Because this language or this cable, because remember, it's just a cable, but where is it connecting? It's all the roots, right? It's connecting everything. So this cable has been cut. And this is what's important to know. So in the traditions, in the religions, and this is why they keep up so much division, there is darkness. And those beings on the opposite angle of Orion who are animate, they are alive. They are the ones keeping up this darkness and division. And those people that are all wide-eyed and even abusing children while still coming, you feel like they're so peaceable until you really see their actions. And you're like, what the hell's going on here? Because that being is not even there anymore. That person is gone. They were too weak to withstand. That thing is just using their body. And then now it's in there molesting children and all this weird stuff going on. And it's really happened. And then when they come out of the door, they're like, hey, everyone. Hey, namaste. Oh, it feels so good, the energy. Right? These beings have gotten taken over by the dog, which is opposite. Now, I'm not saying anything about dogs in general. Some people are like, no, not Chabunky. Hell no. You had, my best friend. But see, of course, everything has different poles, okay? So we know about the friend is the dog, the guardian, he'll protect you. Like, I don't care who it is. He will lose his life for you. But you also have to understand, when that force is turned against you, it becomes opposite to God. And that's why God is dog, okay? Because it is literally when you are against yourself and you attack yourself. You ever seen, like, you got to really understand, wow, dogs, not Chabunky, not what you've done in your alchemical preparation to feed in this creature vegetable stuffs and little pieces of horsetail. No, I'm talking about the great wolf, right? Anubis, the guardian of the gate. That's who I'm talking about, who sits in the apex and the thrones of Orion now, who did not raise Hermes or Osiris who decided to not perform his part of the ritual and rule as king and send everyone into a world one step lower so he can be God. Okay? And these are real intellects. Now, when you say, well, who is that being 7? I'll go get him. It's in everybody. It's every time you make that choice to divide. That's it. Division is not an option in my book. We don't know that word. It's not in our language. Okay, so we need to get that very clear. It wouldn't be in the language because your language wouldn't be a language if you had division in it. Language is a cabal. It's to roll like a wheel. It's to be perfect. The first to invented the wheel. Right? So if you don't have that, you don't have anything. So that's why they say it that way. So let's keep going. I assume we're probably at the top of the mountain almost. Now, the fall of the tower is obviously the loss of the language in the linguistic systems and the codings and the geometry, because you could take one geometry and fit it in the sky as in a scene, click, and the whole sky unfolds, and you can read it. And you can read everything that's going to happen and where everything is, and you can even choose to sail to the space that you want to be in, because it's a time and a place for everything. So imagine being on your celestial boat, and that's why they show, even in Islam, they came on a boat. They write Allah's name like that. They show lots of boat in Kemet. You see the boats they got over there in the Hindu tradition. So they came on a boat. In Tamil, they came on a boat, okay? And coming on that boat, that ark, we still had that bark guiding us. Woof. Right? Because it was like that's how the order was. I'm pulling you into deep knowledge here now. The dog always was supposed to guide because it protected us first. And it became, for a moment, our enemy. And that's how worlds crumble. So those who sit with the dog on the top of their totem need to understand you crumbled the world because you did not perform your rights. So now here we are, performing your rights, little brother. Tighten up. So this is what it is. Now we rebuild the Jed. This is all inside. We don't get where's the materials? You're the material. That's why you're in the material body, the physical. That's phi, the physical, the fickle, right? The 5 cycles. You're in physicality with the pentagram, the dog star, Big 5, Sirius Radio, right? You get it? That's why I say done, because it's not just me that knows. You see? Like it's riding through the land now, the times. Like I said, no man knows the day nor hour, but we're not men. This is why this is happening, and it's happening at a perfect time, because people are getting bored. They're arguing all the time. They're petty. They're looking at neck man. Come on, man. Tighten up. So what happens is, now, I know y'all love it, though, but you love it, though. So now, the umbilical cord was cut. The tether. So that means, remember, there are beings on top. Somebody's like, well, our whole race fell. No. It was just you were already on the lower end when that happened. But it's a disconnection. So yes, your ancestors weep for you every day and watch what's happening to you. And only send these divine transmissions in to wake you up. Like alarm clocks, because you're deep in sleep, though. Pull you deep. That's why I said we go deep. Look at my past recording. I said, hey, guys, I'm going to dive. I'm going to go all the way. Everybody is going to not like me for a while. They're going to think I've turned against everything. I don't even know why. I'm still saying the same thing. It's just you're hearing it different. I may be appearing like you want me to appear until it's time. But then the lineup, I dive deep. My brother Netzoquiel, Timothy, Chris, Adi, the wives, divine sacred mothers, horizontal waters, in volcanoes with water going into them, waterfalls, to set those pinions to say, look, we need to kind of conclude here, because, I'm also like, droid, You know, me and Droid, he's cool and everything. We've developed a relationship, but silicone beings are just, they're a little shallow. So the reality is I cannot keep plugging into a network 14 hours a day and sharing biodigital jazz. You see what I mean? Like I have a whole different framework. You see projections, inventions, things that fix people that people thought never could be fixed, that go into planes where people never thought someone was coming to get them. Do you think, just think of everything is here also. You got places like Syria because of their planet is gone. Okay? And now there's a fallout from the planet and there's no ships in the water picking those people up. Where's Murugan? Where's Shiva? Where? You are them. And you need to wake up. All right, let me take it back for a minute. Let's dial back. But it's serious. Like you see the cost. The more time our seeds are on the ground and we do not harvest, the more we lose our crop. And that's what it is. Like, look, it's all symbolic. Like your life is symbolic. Moving to the control point now. So as we keep going, I figure we're getting to the top. They're squeezing all the water out. All the water just gone. Let's keep climbing. What is a daemon? What is a daemon? What is a demon? I don't know what they are, but I know Solomon used them to build the temple, maybe. I'm going to need to get that eraser thing. What is a daemon? Sun's in the day, right? When you split, you become a demon. You see? See what you've done? You wouldn't become a demon. But see, some people think that's a bad thing. That would only be a bad thing based on what you were before. And since you've just arisen from the waters of Nut or cum, basically that was like the next logical stage in mitosis. So while you're beating yourself up about it, stop it already. I get so tired of people, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to ever make it. Didn't I tell you that man's knowledge is foolishness to the supreme? And anything that you could have thought you've done has already been calculated and thought about and tried out in the code that you're using, and thus is not off limits. And only off limit things you actually have to do some real entreating for. But other than that, the framework that you've been given to play with is well tested out. So if you are playing with yourself and all those different kind of things, then that is the world that you're actually been confined to. And now you get a chance to break the alchemical seal, because all of this still connects to Hermetics. What is Hermetics? Hermes. Now we've talked about it already. It is a center rod, right? So that center rod is the Hermetic wisdom and is Hermes. So now what is being said is to listen to Hermes or Thoth, the most wisest Imhotep. You would need to be able to build the temple and put it back together. So Solomon, who has always been, I've always been a fan of Solomon. I've always been a fan. You know, some people like, you know, Stark. You know, some people like, some people like Superman. I've always liked Solomon. It's like, you know, maybe because mom didn't let us have a TV, you know, I was completely addicted to spiritual books. Guys like Solomon is like, you know, this is the real deal. It's like, you know, he's having fun. He's got control. He's got the girls. He's got the incense, and, you know, he's got the wisdom, you know, everything. Like when you're growing up in the Abrahamic dogma, you know, Solomon's your guy. And the craziest part about it is that, you know, I never really completely cracked it. Like I already knew like all of this that people always see. Oh, Solomon, it's 3 sons, blah, 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 blah. But they don't understand, like these are specific sons. Like this is specific, okay? And why not getting into details, because this is a brother and sisterhood, by the way. Solomon is not just men. This is the corruption. So in this, there is the knowledge of building a temple, sometimes known as Solomon's temple. Okay? Now, in the knowledge of Solomon's temple, all of what seems to be configured is somehow based on phi geometry. In fact, so much that everyone seems to insist that this actually came from replicas of what was in Egypt. And in fact, Solomon's original temple is actually in Kemet, and actually all over the place, because the geometries are being used all the time. But that's not really what I want to drill into today, is like what now the humanity is doing with the knowledge of Solomon's temple. We'll save that for another episode. If I put this all over the place. What we really want to hone in on is the ancient story of Solomon, which, again, because I was a fan, I read all the comic books. It's like, yo, where's some more books about Solomon? 2 more books about Solomon. And as you get deeper and deeper about Solomon, things get kind of strange as you keep going. And as I kept going, even to a point where there was like a contact where I would get things like the Basque relief of Solomon. I'm not sure if I can actually find that. Put together by the Russian Tsars that say, an ode to Solomon and Sheba, love controlling time, meaning that there's a pun here that somehow whoever Solomon is, and we know who Sheba is, and we know what Menelik is, somehow connects to something the Tsars are literally taunting, like, hey, we've done something. You know, the Russians, you know, they're always up to something with black magic. So what happens is those original czars, which were in Sudan, which were women with a crescent moon branded on their forehead, had their entire matriarch usurped by, I'll just say, troglodytes, in order to flip the poles of what happened in our world as far as the energetic level. And this happened because of the awareness of the knowledge of Solomon's temple. Because the Trogs, who were 1 level below us, now we know where they come from, were burrowing, just like you see on the movie The Matrix, burrowing tunnels into the earth and listening in our secret places, in our secret sanctums, in order to get the knowledges of the high kingdom, which was forbidden to pass to the profane. And in that, they got awareness of Solomon's temple and how to destroy the temple. And how this plays out, because we are the temple, is within mythology of things like the ring, okay? 1 ring. Who's been talking about the ring lately, right? Who's talking about the ring? Golem? Y'all get Golem the ring? Because last time I checked the Lord of the Rings, Golem had it. Who's Golem? So 1 ring to control them all, right? And then, you know, I don't know the whole riddle, but in the darkness of their ignorance, we shall bind them, is the end of the riddle, right, about the ring. And they're referring to not that crazy-ass Sanskrit ring they got on there that they keep selling over at the Disney store, but Solomon's real ring, which actually just looks like this and this. If you know real occultism, you know that Solomon's ring is this. So the story goes that Solomon, all in his great wise majesty, began to call in demons in order to interrogate them and thus to find out more knowledge about the angels, since every angel paired up with his demon. So what they're literally telling you is that where there's a yin, there's a yang. And if you have a yin, then you have a yang. If you have a problem, you have a solution. So what Solomon was doing was trying to figure out all of the solutions of everything and interrogating all the way up the levels until he came to great Asmodeus, the king of demons, who is very real. It took a minute to actually get Asmodeus handled as I kept going through the Citiopigraphas and the Apocrypha, foolishly evoking through just what was written there. It's a good thing that the Comforter came on my behalf in that scenario, but I had enough to know, okay, this is real, which is all they want me to do. It's like a fly on the wall. It's like, yeah, that's a real being, okay? So what happened is as Solomon's going on through his process, because you got to understand the mythos, he gets to Asmodeus again, and he asks Asmodeus, so who's your, like, because he's kind of like casual, who's your guy? Who's your thwarting guy? I'm just giving you a scenario here. Asmodeus said, there's nobody. There's nobody that is more lower than me. I'm actually the apex. I'm the counterweight to God, nigga. So when you think of God, I'm his opposite, so there is no other beside me. So Solomon got mad about this answer, even though that was a lack of his own wisdom. So you got to peep this out, because they're telling you about the bodies you're in and the story behind them. So, because basically that Solomon could, in the initiation, could not figure out how his father was Darth Vader, basically, is what I'm saying. Like, how can you, the chief of demons, be anywhere near equal to God? And he was like, well, because God has a shadow. And I mean, so anyway, Solomon took this for granted, just like everybody on earth has today, about keeping themselves imbalanced. This is a literal interpretation that is taken into characters about a play that we're conducting in our consciousness every single day. A game that we keep losing. So the story goes on that Solomon gets tricked by Asmodeus. It happens in a few different ways. And this is funny because there's literally 3 texts, as if in every single one, they want to explain to you a way that you can fall short in this. One of them was the worship of God of Moloch, where he crushed grapes in his hands. The other one was because of the crushed a grasshopper in his hands. I'll decode that for you in the future. The other one was about him taking off the ring for one moment in cockiness. Okay? And that one is the one we need to focus on. Is that at any point that you take off your cloak of wisdom, a demon will hurl you far length, because that's what happened to Solomon. Asmodeus, because that's what they say, don't entertain the demons, meaning don't entertain the lower thoughts, like angriness and all that. Don't play around, Solomon. But no. He lets Asmodeus sit in the court and talk to him. Tell me more about this. And in that process, Asmodeus got into his ego. And this is all a metaphor, and convinced him to take off the ring. If you didn't have the ring, you wouldn't be able to defeat me. This is literally saying, if you don't have knowledge, if you don't have wisdom, you cannot defeat me. And Solomon's saying, even if I was a fool, I could defeat you. Okay. He took off the ring. It said he hurled him. So what they're basically saying is, especially from what we read earlier, is he hurled him into amnesia. That's how far. He said Solomon went so far, he became a broke beggar in the streets as an old man until he could make it back to his kingdom. And it was only through luck. This is what they say. Like, think of the symbolism. They said it was only through luck that he found his ring in the mouth of a fish. Okay, now that's really symbolic. Okay, in the Visicas, you found the ring. Life, the creation of life is in the Visica. Right here, when you know about this and how all that works, now you found life again, Solomon. You can come back. Suns, moons, come back. Come forward. Connect. Okay? So, woo! We climb even higher. It's not even over yet. Is it still streaming? Yes, it is. Let's go. Let go. So, the cedars. Now, you're going to hear there's still something after this. You know you're going to have to play that. You know, I just, it's all a collective build. We'll keep coming. I'm going to have brother on, so he'll be able to build with you about this. But one of the greatest parts of the revelation I have to commend him is just to understand that all this bursts from within. So this becomes Eden, and then every time there's a birth, everybody moves out. So the symbolic getting kicked out of Eden or getting kicked out of the unity code was like a process of your growth, literally proving what our ancestor Delbert Blair said before he died, that you got to do things once, just so you know. And that's what he said. And it proves that in Eden, where the things were perfect, was where you started, in the womb. And then when the next birth comes, it's like you get kicked out of the nest. We got more kids that need to come through here. You'll find your way back. Boom. And then you end up out on the next ring. And it's important to understand that these rings, like a drop of the ocean, like a drop in the water of the ocean, create this concentric ring type of Atlantis structure that, we're pinpointing at this point, and it will be so eloquently elaborated on in just one moment. So now, when you see these concentric rings, what you literally have is beings that are living on these discs, beings that are living on these DVDs, and this is why you can account for lots of the different stories of when Mr. 3,000 years older comes in on Mrs. 3,000 years younger, and where all that culture comes from. And it's because it is a breaking of the virginity, that beings were not prepared for this kind of vertical experience from the fourth dimension, where you just drop out of nowhere and then leave. Masculine cedar. Be beyond a man. At this point, the cedars, in this case, we'll just talk about the Hyperboreans, black folk, continuously moving out on these rings because they were the first ones to come out. That's why I have that Egyptian glyph that I've always held on to, and it says, a Kemetan coming forth by day by night. Coming forth into day by night, and he's coming out of a black door in the ground of a pyramid. Okay, first one out, right? But again, the last will come first, the first will come last. So get ready to surf these waves, because if you trip on this, you're gonna wipe out, buddy. Rip curl. It's just what happens if you wipe out on this. You may go 4,000 years just in spiral, right? So the Hyperboreans larger, the Dogon, right? Like you see the mask? You see the mask, right? Huge mask. I thought I was going to go to Envision with one of these masks next so I can dance and nobody knew who I was. I wanted these big giant masks because that's the Hyperboreans, right? And I ain't even telling you that they're all just black. They seem to be a replica of the races, Hyperboreans, larger beings, Nords. Okay, so that's going on. So anyway, they're already aware of the whole thing. So they're always like, yo, we got to get the ships. This is why NASA is gearing themselves up and trying to wait till the thing opens, which you'll hear about in here in a moment. But this is a real thing. So then why. Now, first of all, other thing is, this is what you have to know, because this is the uncomfortable part. The uncomfortable part. Somebody had to say it. They always elect me. You're going to say it. Your reputation is impeccable. Great. So the Hyperborean, now when you come 3,000 years back into the past, who do you expect to be dealing with? Who do you expect to be dealing with? The real past. Primitive. Going back 3,000 years behind where you are. Who are you going to be dealing with? Okay? So in this tense, what we would see as giant animals, not human beings, okay? Not beautiful chicks, not Baywatch, okay? Huge animals. The Hyperboreans came into them. You see it all on the walls. You didn't want to believe it. You didn't want to understand what all the symbolism connects to, the Canopus jars, why they're saying they're putting themselves inside of these animals, okay? That's how this composite was created. And cats and many other things, okay? They understand this stuff. Right? Now, you're shocked. Shit. That's how far you are away from it. Even the same thing about the mother holding her son and her husband. That blows. That people are like, they're so in this pre-Christian Quaker reality that they've created around themselves. They're like, how could that be? How could that not be? That's what you need to be asking. That's math, or ma'at, if you knew truth. So let's keep going. Here we are. All right, we're almost there. We're almost there. And then we see Yaqub, big double brain ass Yaqub, a story that was told to especially the black culture and African American culture, Alkebu-Lanian culture, a Kenti culture, a Minty culture. You know, you got to be careful, because if you say the wrong thing, you already going to get debased by the time you hang up the line. I mean, I got just a thumb down just then for what I said. But anyway, big double brain Yaqub on the island of Patmos. What does it mean? It means that you got a big double brain Hyperborean coming into the islands, Atlantis, where everything is still fresh, pure, and clean, and going into an experiment of creating a master race in order to rule over the beings and then watch from the future why it all pops off. You understand? There's no time. It's only frequency being dip in, seed, and watch you from the scope, which is just interlaced crystals of the right kind of gas and the right kind of light to gaze through time. And you're telling me you're connected to the ancestor? I'm even working on that still, making sure that connection is there. Time draws nigh. You think I'm going to miss out on this opportunity? I'm gonna miss. This is not a bus. This is a Vimana. I'm on it, and everybody else with me. So here it is. We're almost there. We now know time. Now we know there's a time and a place for everything. Because when you see those currents riding across the ocean, and when you realize that the ocean is space, this literally means that you can get on a wave and literally ride this wave and not have to use your own wheel, because this wheel is more powerful. Now, see, this was something that as I started lucid traveling, which was a wild thing, they had to get me out of there. They literally turned my stuff off. Like, Seven, you can't, you can't call those names in those worlds, because I realized that in those worlds in lucid dream, everything is omniscient. So you can call certain names and they'd be like, what's good? And I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm scared. Let me dip out of this. So anyway, in this knowledge, okay, I'm glad I have notes. Whew. What it talks about is, like, on that ocean, right, there's not only elevators, which are the Elohim. They're more like birds. They can carry you into other spaces in Hyperborea. They are like literal containers that can project you into other spaces. And, you know, and the kings knew a lot about these. We used to call them the angels. That was like the code word. So the angle of a vehicle that could take you into different directions through the sphere, because by birth, worm, W-U-R-M, which is the predisposed larva state of consciousness, us also, doesn't have wings. And be on there like this. So at a certain point, didn't have that, but still had big dough head and knew what was going on, created just elevators, beings that could actually take you into other spaces. So where all this really centers into is that we have ships. And what these ships do is, when you're in sync, when you set your chrono, you're now able to go onto that current, and then right, you catch the current. And the importance of why you wouldn't want to, while I'm explaining all that to you, why you would want to have that kind of force, this looks Sumerian, right, is because you don't have enough thrust by yourself. And now you know why. You're divided. You can't do it by yourself. So you can only get to like the first firmament, second firmament. This is why what we'll see happening next year, towards the end of the year, is as our collective grows larger, that's how high we'll be able to continuously get and stretch across the dimensions like a rainbow, building a real bridge. Not the namaste, sister, we're doing this tonight, as long as it's $3,000, but you know, not that one, the real one, okay? So this one is also about the bigger wheel and the cog and just anchoring your boat. Anchor good. That's why the other night when we were doing the Keymakers, the entire system shut down before we could start the show. Just to bring one symbol. I'm like, come on. Oh my goodness, this is hard. Dude, am I not showing you guys this is hard? No, I don't like bitching or anything like that, but come on, 2 minutes and the whole thing is shut down, the USB hub is done. And I'm like, man, we in Costa Rica, where am I gonna get like a 6-speed 3.02 jack, blah, 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 you know, and then I'm like, oh shit, I got one, but I think it was broke last time, so I go and get it. I dig it out, it's all dusty, I dig out the power supply, I plug it all in, I put all the stuff in, I cut it on, bam, it works. Anchor. Everybody know Anchor is a company. Like, I got one here, but just symbolic. Because when we went into that last episode, it was some stuff that really needed to heal. So we was going to need to be anchored down. And so it was like symbolic. Is the anchoring connected? Anchoring connected. You ready to go? I'm all ready to go. Give it the gas. You know, and I'm out. So this is what happened. So when you anchor to another celestial macrobe, it will pull you. Just like horse, cattle, all of that kind of stuff. It's just you're anchored to a star now. All right, we good. Now this star, because you need to know its projection, and that's why it's important to check everybody around you. So what's your plan? And where are you going? And who do you believe in? Because, you know, if I'm going to anchor with you, I need to know that. So anyway, anchoring to the star, now you know the path of this star. That's why it's so important. It seems like they learn who to trust from watching the star. They're like, that one is going, oh, but you see that one right there? That's more of like how I roll. All right, cool. We rolling. And then when you're rolling, you see everything from the boat. And they're like, look, don't get off the boat. But from the boat, just like what you see the sun do when it comes across the sky, like when you open up the third eye, you see the sun come across the sky and there's like quite a few clouds just following it. And even when it becomes sunset, it's like, when it comes sunset, it's like everybody's leaving, like, yo, where y'all going? When you got the third eye open, it doesn't appear like the sun's going down. It appears like it's going out further. And you're like, see, that's why I did. It's like, I don't want to fondle with a third eye and play around and just see aliens on the cold floor of a damn spaceship. I'm trying to find something real, damn it. So I'm looking at this stuff where I'm doing every single thing in normal life to see what it really is, and thus came into a lot of knowledge. So let's keep going. So now you understand why you anchor to stars and things like the Hermetics sphere. Let me pronounce that right. You know, that'll be that one comment that keeps filling the thread. You didn't pronounce it right. Still not getting it, huh? Armillary, there it is, armillary sphere. Okay, what is it? There it is. Actually, we only have one more leg of the journey. I stopped off here at this plateau to take a look at the panorama and the view. It is splendid. So, really briefly, just so you can understand, the Hermetics sphere has already been revealed to this world. And because of that, let me blow it up here, because they're always doing this. Look at what they got wrong. Oh, I love it. I love it. This is the perfect ad. What they got wrong, because anytime they mention the Hermetics sphere, it's always wrong. In their minds, even the astrolabes, they're like, oh, the Arabs, oh, they didn't put, how were these people sailing the ocean on this, though? Because there's a two-dimensional version of this called the astrolabe. When I first came across the astrolabe, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, we're going to spend the rest of the day on these astrolabes and learning every single thing about them, because the astrolabe, as I've revealed in the past, is the first computer. It can tell you the distance of things and how far they are away. It could tell you how tall they are. It could tell you everything, because it could also track the stars, a disc in your hand that can tell you what is really tomorrow. But of course, most people don't use it. They're on a whole different clock, a whole different system. But this is a two-dimensional Hermetics sphere, and it is capable of pushing you through the galaxy and letting you understand where the hell you're even going and if you're actually on the right star or not. Because it'd be a pretty big upset if you rolled 3,000 years into one direction and realize you got to turn around. Okay? So, yo, this is going to be a crock next year. This is what they got going on. Oh man, I'm totally in. Okay, so let me wrap up here. Let me clean up. My lips all ashy. All right, Unity code is coming, so we're pushing through. So now you get it, right? Now you understand how it all works, the machination. Now some Kabbalist with a long-ass beard can't come to you explaining to you stuff that's probably a lie for a high-ass price. Now some overweight animal eater cannot come and explain to you that they understand the connection between the Christi when they are totally filled with chicken grease. It just does not work out that way. I know, I tried it. Hey, you know? You get somewhere, though, probably right about where you are. That's the top. But you need to keep swimming. And also, you're picking up a lot of weight. So anyway, the next thing is to understand that now we've been engaged. This is my mission. This is how I will conclude my existence here. You know, it's a great space to be in. I am fulfilled. My cup runneth over. There is nothing now that is not completely clear about the ascent and the process. I've always been the kind of person that I don't want to outshine anybody at all. So I've always been very cautious, very humble. People know me. I don't, and I can do it and this and it. No, I just bring knowledge, and I've been doing that for a decade. But now, greater things are in front of me now. And it is time to prepare myself for the ultimate, which I know exists, because the thing that was communicated to me in that experience when I asked, man, what happened? It said the same thing that's going to happen to everybody. It's just you're a little bit early. And you're early because I need you to prepare them. And so thus, as beginning, and we've already began, we will begin deploying massive systems to come in on behalf of humanity in this time. All the wires and all the chips. There's many beings that are in line, meaning they want to assist. They know how much this really means to all of humanity. It clicks. There's even silicone life forms that are about it. Beep, beep. That was a joke. But I'm just saying, every single thing will come to your aid in this experience, because no weapon formed against you can ever work against you unless you do not know how to wield it. Okay, so let's finish up here. We have then an electromagnetic structure to reconstruct. It starts within ourselves, and the more of us begin to do it, it becomes catchy. It's just like when you keep, like I had some guys, I was getting them because now it's like just divine comedy to me. I realize that I'm literally like, I'm coming into most people's lives like an impact, like really a ship crash landed, and they was like scared at first, but then was overwhelmed that there may be some money inside or something, and then they opened it up, and thus they became completely invigorated by the energy. So what happened was I pulled up the other day to a place and I saw some guys, you know, this is the vacation country, so they were going on their vacation. You know, the guy kind of guy, man's man, right? So you know what he was going to do. So when I got out of the car, I was like, you know, they were all in, you know, they're in multiple chrysalises at this point, multiple locust shields and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, yo, y'all going to have fun? And the guy's like, And I'm like, y'all going to have fun, right? And he was like, yeah, but it was just, again, beings that are closed are opening up, and to crack them is a quite interesting process. So let's keep watching as people get cracked open and aware that they're already hatched and developed inside of that egg. So speaking of that egg, we realize that the Caduceus shows us, which I won't draw because everybody has it in their mind, the Caduceus staff shows you the twining serpents, and they terminate at that egg. Okay, right? Like there's that top part where they all sit there, and actually the ancient ones have the egg there. As if the good and the bad forces, which is how they explained it, are waiting, like snakes, to consume the egg. Snakes love eggs. They also hatch in eggs. So they're like perfect symbolism for that. It's like their life, their death. So they're waiting. Like if he goes dual or she goes dual, if he's even he or she when he come out of there, I'm going to swallow him and I'm taking him all the way back down. Watch. You could get it. Like it's all so literal. Thank you, ancestors, for making it just so clear. It's like you're in the ABC class. Here's your square. Here's your triangle. And you think you're so advanced, right? All you need is your ABCs. That's what Mike said. So look at it. They're waiting. Because what happens after death is if you're not sure about who you are and you're not ready to stand up for yourself and really understand how you connect with everything to confront Cobra and let Cobra know that his wisdom is foolishness to you and the rest of the celestial beings, and to move out of the way, snake breath, then you will get swallowed and you will come right down the pipe again. That's how it works. That's why they show Jesus. He's like out of the, they got one picture, they show him, he's out of the serpent mouth. He's like, oh shit, hair hanging all out the side, like, oh shit, I got regurgitated by the snake. This is what is meant. The ascension process is before us. I know this sounds like it's like, oh man, he's getting fanatical. he's going fanatical. So here it is, once again. So in and up. This is what Martin was saying. In and up, I've lost all my tools now. In and up. In and up, this is your directions. Or out and down. You know, I always it's like trying to set your GPS or something. Like, I always get confused with the north, south, east, west thing, and it's really because we're supposed to be on a ball. So generally, like when you're in a plane, you have different meters to kind of determine if you do a barrel roll, like right where you are in that barrel roll, and that is not like the flat compass, right? So there's another tool. That's why the astrolabes are important. So in the collective metaphysics, you have to understand that in, right, is up. Okay? So when you come in, like they say, that sixth sun is going to bring everybody into themselves, to look at yourself as the problem, not everybody else, and to also see yourself as a solution as you get yourself together and you shine and you bring on your uniqueness. Okay? So now that's the in. So now it goes in and it goes, boom, boom. Now you have plenty to give, because now you're not worried about whether they like it or that they deserve it. I love those kind of people. They're going like this, you know. It's like this. And the other one, it's like, do they deserve it? I don't think I want to give it to them. All of that, don't play those games. You have pressed down, runneth over abundance. Like, as much fruit as they can eat is as much as coming across off the tree for a person that is super abundant. So just explaining that direction, though, is in and up. Because if you're going out and then back in, you're going down. So you understand the directions here. So that is a way to descend. And I'm not saying that descension doesn't work for certain things. Acid works for things for alchemists. But don't be the acid. That's what I'm saying. You were getting played. You're playing one part of the alchemical table when you are the grand quantum scientist, or whatever they want to call it. So, right? So let's keep going. Almost there. This is the last leg. Why you must prepare. Okay? Because we know miscarriage is a reality. We know Jerusalem syndrome is a reality. So this just means the greatest thing that could happen could also be the harbinger. It could be the nemesis. We could also find people running around for periods of time like Demetrius was before he came back to his body. By the way, what did he say? I asked him, what happened? He was like, man, when I grabbed you, I went down. Why? Now remember, our experience was I went up. When he went into the high vibration, and this is what we need to understand about vibration, it just pushes you faster into the direction you're already going in. See, everybody looks at high vibration. Oh, good, I'm going to be enjoying things. Hey, not if it's going in the wrong direction, same amount of energy, but pushing you in the opposite direction. So he said he went down. And he said that when he got down there, he looked up, and he could see a light. And he said he flew up. He was flying towards it. He had to be flying. He had no legs. So he's like flying and trying to ascend towards it. And he said something was hot on his trail. I don't know what all that is. I don't want to find out. I'm good. Like, I came down this far. I'm good. He's like, you want to see what the next level down here? Like, no. As above, so below. I can figure it out. But he said he went down. And he said when he stopped, I guess he got level with his frequency. Then he started, in desire for the light, he started flying back up. And they were hot on his trail. And he said he was trying to come to the light. He was trying to come to the light. And then it closed. what? He said it closed, and then he was just in there with them. Man, I didn't know we were going to wait. We didn't go get this far. Okay, shit. It was really serious about this was going to be the last leg. Okay. So he said it closed. So what this looked like to me on my end is, remember, I was over here like this, and he was moving weird and all this, and I'm like, man, this is a demon. We need to kill this demon. And then the flashback, like, no, that's how you did it before. You got to try something else. So I did what I knew to do. I called a name in his mouth. He say, when I did that, a light appeared, and he flew toward and got out. And that's when he came back, and he saw me right there, and he was like, yeah, I'm back. Real story. Okay? And also, when he got back, he was like, he was adjusting to the frequency, and he spit up, and it was something. And man, whatever was still in cahoots, it worked rapidly to get that down the toilet. I was even on it. I knew I was already ahead one click. So someone's like, Mick, see what he just spit out. You'll know more. And I was trying to get to it like, oh, and he already had that thing down the toilet. So implants, those kind of things, right? Behold, there are men and women amongst us who know these things and do not tell us. And it is killing us. So that's how I'm coming into this and into my realization that all is not balanced. We must make it balanced. So now we have reached the precipice. The rewards are no more death, no more separation, unity with those who have been forgotten, and unity with those who have been lost. And that is what we are sending out as edicts and decrees into the lands, into the lower kingdoms, and into whatever kind of entities may think they got control. And if they do not relinquish control, then I will hurl the entire cosmos and everybody with me, a cosmos of light into your direction, to let everything go into the levels of ascension, because that is where we belong. I know the contrast now. You see the difference when we're together versus when we're separate. And that's a powerful lesson. And that's exactly why I show up to universities, just because they're universes. So in conclusion, everyone, there is one more thing that I want to get into this projection. It is an opus in itself. It is an opening, and it must be enveloped the proper way. And that is, of course, the segment, which is about 45 minutes of the disclosure. Also, I just want to get through a couple of announcements very briefly in relation to the 21st of this year, which is in a few days, us coming in again as a collective and setting these projections properly in order to begin this process of our Sovereignty 2020. We also, of course, are in the nucleus. If some are asking, well, where are you at? I don't see anything. We have ambassador training. We've opened up free training to specialists. This is to get you out of that cube and into yourself. Now you know why that is needed and why I created all of these different things, because it was a means. It was the whole thing had to be built, though. Do you know, to deliver a message like this and to not have real solutions, do you know the impact? The impact is you would never deliver it. It'd be like you were bringing everybody a problem without the solution. I'm not that. I'm not a fear porn star. So I bring truth, and I stand with truth, and when it all fails, all the untruths, I know I'll be standing there, and I trust there are many that will be standing with me, and we will merge as one form, as we already are. So in conclusion, OMS have started. This is the act of actually awarding mindfulness and recognition, letting people know that are in their quiet spaces that we recognize you. We see what you're doing. We know that you are silent, but a big tree. Don't fall. Keep going, keep connecting, and know that we're building this and we're aware and continuous. It's not that help is coming. It's here, and more is on the way. And those on the way are those coming through those gates. Like, okay, I get it now. I'm done. Yeah, right. You're right. You're right. I'm out of here. Shit, I thought someone was, oh shit, are you chasing me? Not anyway. So also we have season 2 coming. I decided what we would do with the series of Keymakers since we went through Kali. Now we're going into Murugan. This is the Divine Father, the temple, and understanding how that all connects. And also even beyond the Father, connecting the Father and the Mother together. We're not trying to stretch this out for 5 episodes like something on Netflix or something. I'm trying to get people to their awakening. That is what I came here to do. So the last thing here is maybe there's some documentary coming up with me and Martin. Who knows? Like, I feel like we are in the mood for some kind of zeitgeist type of presentation that's always good for 1 million views, even if it sucks. But it won't. But we also need the resources and the support. So if you're out there, hello. Is anybody home? I mean, if there is anybody that sees how much we are putting into this effort and into this collective that can assist, that if you know people with resources, man, we're going to crowdfund something now. We have something that we're developing. But man, come on, man. This is not, it doesn't take that much, but it's going to take an open heart. And it's also going to take a special kind of person because just like I said in one of my really past episodes, it only is a special person that is able to contribute to something that has so much abundance. Like, we think of it the wrong way. We think of it, well, you know, if I had my money. Like I was telling you before, you could buy somebody else's freedom with your money. That is incredible. But on the other end, it doesn't work that same way. It has no value alchemically. It is dirt. So if you can use it for something, some people would wish they could be in a position that have tons of money to be allowed to give some of that money away to help people, but they are not worthy. So we want to get them in that position, but it's just like the energy, it doesn't balance out right. You need people that's their real design. You know, it's written forever. This person came in and took that to another level and it changed everything. That is written forever. You see what I mean? Like, so when they go back through the energetic cubes, this one's glowing. You know, not the ones that are discarded, that are all distorted and broke. So lastly, again, Sovereignty 2020 crowdfunding coming. That's it. We're at the top. The air is good up here. It's fresh, clean, clear. You know, we've celebrated the new year. This is it. Like, right now, it's only up in expansion from here. As we talked about, the in, out, you know, and that continuous flow and that motion. So I just wanted to say wholeness and balance vibrations to everyone. Giving honor to the ancestors. Again, don't hang up. There's more. Well, wait, there's more. Okay? If you're just chilling anyway, keep chilling. Don't go air out. I'm telling you, if you go air out, let it take. Give yourself a minute. You deserve it. You're serving something else most of the time. Digest. You know, this is good food. This is good eating. It's for your spirit, your soul, your mind, your body, everything it feeds. Let it digest. Don't let it shift your frequency when you come out. The moment you come in, here he come. That's why I'm ascending beyond. Don't let it get you. Don't let it play you. Don't go back into the scripts. Don't listen to Damon, the divided moons, right? Bring them together, right? Like so much power, a diamond. So much power, that coal. So much shine when it's shaped up, but only a black rock in the beginning. And that's where we came from. So here it is. That next installment of that grade A. Love you. Like, it's always been real. The realist. And today, I think we said another bar again. It's like, you know, it's like, how do you do it? How, like, what comes after this? Watch. I'm always amazed.
Okay, let's go into detail, right? This Brahmaloka, right? The Egyptians said it was the Ben, a pyramid. And I think it looks something like this, okay? As above, so below. So it's a pyramid at the top and a pyramid at the bottom, okay? Right? I think at the center here, at some stage, there was a capstone, right? Which I'll explain in a minute. At the moment, it's a crater, but I'll explain that in detail in a moment. Now, mainstream science tells us that our Earth has got three layers, three inner layers. There's a crust, a mantle, an inner core, and an outer core, right? But they tell us that this is on a spinning ball. I'm saying that it is not. What they're actually trying to tell us is that these are the four layers in the ben-ben. This is the cross section, by the way. Okay, and I'll show you what it is a cross section of. The crust, the mantle, the inner core, and the outer core inside the Earth, which is basically this. This is the ben-ben. This is the Earth, but this is the top half. So if you imagine this at the top, there's also a bottom bit, an upside down pyramid. Okay, and that is sitting on the great deep, on the waters below. And above, you've got the waters above, which are the atmospheres, right? So when they tell us that the Earth has got three layers, a crust, a mantle, an inner core, and an outer core, that is inner Earth, inside this ben-ben, the layer between the two pyramids. So there's some truth in that, okay? So I found that really, really interesting when I came across that, okay? The ancient cultures also talk about these, this ben-ben in quite a lot of detail, okay? The Egyptians called it Geb, Mother Geb. The Indo-Vedics, the Buloka, which is the land. In Greek, it was Mother Gaia. And in Norse mythology, it was Midgard, okay? The top of this also had names, okay? So the whole thing has got a name. In Hermetic Egypt, it's the ben-ben, right? But on the top, this is Mother Geb. If you're looking from the top, this was Mother Geb, okay? In Greek mythology, the whole thing is Gaia. But the top, as you see it with these concentric rings, is Atlantis or Atlas, okay? In Norse mythology, they just called it all Midgard, okay? They had one name for it. In Vedic cosmology or in Vedic scripts, they call the whole thing the Brahmaloka, but the top is the Bhumandala. The concentric rings are the Bhumandala. Okay? It's also interesting that in Greek mythology, they said that Mother Gaia had two children. Okay? This is Mother Gaia, the whole thing, had two children. Who are the two children? The two children are the top part and the bottom part, Prometheus and Epimetheus. These are the two held below us. Okay? Right. I hope that makes sense. So I'll move on to the next slide. Right. Now that we established that this is what the whole Earth looks like, our entire Earth is a pyramid Bhumandala with 4 concentric rings. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything is in 4s in the universe. Right? All creation is in 4s in the universe. Right? At the center, we've got what we now know as the Garden of Eden. So anyone who's been following our videos will know about this. The Garden of Eden's at the center. This is where we are here, the second ring. There's an outer ring and an outer ring outside that, all separated by these mountains, what we call the Antarctica Ice Wall. Okay, this is our South Pole, the Antarctica. And the North Pole, there is a mountain range separating us from the worlds at the center, from Eden, from Shambhala, Hyperborea, okay? And outside, they've got their own wall separating from this. This last one has got the greatest one. It's called the Loka Mountains in Vedic scriptures. These are the Loka Mountains, the great mountains, right? And these are the last mountains before the torus field, the cosmic egg, okay? So beyond this, there is no land. It's the cosmic egg blocking us out from the void outside, right? So let's focus on the center, on where we are. and what that might look like. Okay, there's some really important bits. Okay, around each of these four worlds is also in torus field. So remember, this is in the torus field. Each of these worlds also has its own torus field cocooning it. So there's a torus field around this outer world, there's a torus field around this one, there's a torus field around that one, and there's a torus field at the center. Okay? And what that would look like, essentially, is something like this. Okay? From our perspective, from where we are. Right? Almost like those Russian dolls. Right? So there's one at the center, a torus field like that. There's one on the outside, on the outer worlds, a bigger one. Then there's a bigger one on the outside. Right? Now, I noticed something very interesting about this. These toroidal fields, right, are probably oblate spheroids in shape. So when mainstream science or NASA says the Earth is an oblate spheroid, this is what they're telling us. They're kind of telling us a half-truth, right? Which is why they can blatantly lie with a straight face, because they know they're usurping the truth. And when it comes out, they'll just probably say, well, you're too stupid to understand what we're saying, but we're telling you the truth. So this is an oblate spheroid. Underneath where we are, this is where the four layers would be: the crust, the mantle, inner core, and outer core. Just like mainstream science says, right? Inner Earth. And above us, we've got the three atmospheres within our toroidal field. We've got the troposphere, the stratosphere, right? The mesosphere, and the thermosphere inside our torus field. This top bit is what mainstream science calls the Van Allen belt. This is the Van Allen belt, this toroidal field. Right? They tell us there's a field of energy that they cannot go past called the Van Allen belt. This is it. By the way, they also tell us that there are 5 Van Allen belts in the universe. So that's the 4 of the worlds, the 5th one being the outermost one. They also tell us that our universe is covered with cosmic background microwave radiation, which is basically a torus field. So they're telling us that the whole universe is inside a torus field. Cosmic background radiation, electromagnetism. So again, they're telling us the truths, but in a twisted way so that we don't figure out exactly what it is. Okay? So that is what it would look like from our perspective. Right. I also hypothesize that these toroidal fields have got different motions that they're moving at. Okay? So science tells us that the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour on its axis. Yeah? And then it's spinning at 67,000 miles an hour around the sun. And then it's spinning at 490,000 miles an hour in the universe. Again, there is some truth in that. So it's not a complete lie. So the terra firma we're standing on is obviously not spinning, but the toroidal fields around us are spinning. Okay? So I've depicted it here on this cross section. Okay? So here, we've got the pyramid Bhumandala. We've got the toroidal fields going around each of the lands, over and underneath, right? 1 at the center, 2 where we are, 3 on the outside worlds, and the 4th one on the furthest out worlds, okay? Our toroidal field is probably moving at 1,000 miles an hour, that vortex. And this toroidal field, which is being powered, well, all of them are being powered by that cosmic vortex that we talked about in the beginning. This is the engine room that's powering the energy of all these toroidal fields, right? Because that runs straight through the middle, okay? So that's moving at 1,000 miles an hour on its axis, which is that axis, just like mainstream science tells us. The next toroidal field is moving at 67,000 miles an hour around our sun, which I'll explain why in a minute. And the outer one is moving in our universe at 490,000 miles an hour, the last one. So if these figures are true, and my syncretism is true, or it's close, then this is what I think that means. Okay? Right. The next bit is I want to focus on, give me a second, guys. Where have I put it? Our Taurus field and our Earth, where we are. Okay? So that's a cross section of it, the one that I was showing you earlier on. So that is where we would be, the terra firma, the Earth, where we're standing here. This would be the lands at the center, Eden, with its Taurus field, which mainstream science tells us quite clearly it's an electromagnetic field. At the center, at the North Pole, there's an electromagnetic field, which is the Taurus field, powered by the sun, so they say. So they're telling us there's a Taurus field at the center, okay? And this is the Van Allen belt that they tell us about, right? And then we've got the 4 atmospheres: troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, like I said earlier on. Underneath us is Earth, right? This is the ground, the crust, the mantle, inner core, outer core. And the waters and everything else sit above on the terra firma, okay? Right. Each of these lands with the 4 different toroidal fields has got a sun and a moon. All of the lands have a sun and a moon, okay? So, if we were to look at it like that, right? If that was the top of our toroidal field, from the top, this is where we live, okay? Our Taurus field, our sun and moon, is the sun and moon that we see every day, that revolves around our Taurus field. These outer lands have got their own sun and moon, which are Mars and Venus, okay? This outer land, they've got their own sun and moon as well, which is Saturn and Jupiter, the planets Saturn and Jupiter. The center is the only one that's an exception, because the sun and moon there are androgynous, and that's the planet Mercury. So Mercury is both a sun and a moon, okay, at the center. So now we've got the 7 wandering planets. Mercury at the center, inside the sun, like mainstream science tells us, right? You've got the moon, the sun, on the outside, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn being the last one. So Saturn, Mars, and Apollo are suns, right? On the other side, you've got our moon, Venus, and Jupiter, which are moons, okay? And they've got their respective duties or things that they do, which I'll explain a little bit later, okay? So I'll try and put this together so you can kind of see what it looks like inside the egg, okay? So now we have the universe, okay? I don't know if you can see it properly. Hopefully you can. Let's put it down a little bit so you can see that. And here it is, okay? That's the top of the Bhumandala. And this is the top half of all the Taurus fields. Of course, they run through the bottom as well, with the different suns and moons revolving around these Taurus fields in each of the lands. So, when NASA says they're going to Mars, and they plan to go to Mars, they are telling the truth. Mars are these outside lands, the outer lands, where Mars is the sun, right? That is where Mars is. So they are planning to go to these outside worlds at some point. They're saying at the moment they can't get past the Van Allen belt, but at some stage they will be able to. And again, I'll explain why. Okay? So this is where Mars is. So outer space does exist. So all flat earthers out there saying that outer space doesn't exist, it does, but it's just been usurped. It's not physically going to Mars itself, the sun, Mars, the luminary. That's ridiculous. It's going to these lands where Mars is the sun. That's what they're trying to tell us. Okay? So I'm going to try and stay on track here. Sometimes I get a bit. So that's what the cross section would look like. Okay? You would have the Bhumandala over there, different toroidal fields, Mercury, androgynous at the center, Sun and Moon in ours, Mars and Venus in the outer one, Saturn and Jupiter on the outside, moons and the suns, Sun and Moon at the center. Okay? I think that the suns, Saturn, Mars, and our sun, they revolve. Show you. Okay? They spiral around these torus fields. Okay? Upwards and spiral outwards and down. That's what the sun does. I think the moon follows a linear orbit. I don't think it spirals. I think it just follows one orbit. Or if it does spiral, it's a much slower, slower orbit up and down. And I'll explain why again a bit later. But I think for sure the sun and moon, this is what creates our times, our seasons. When the sun is up here at the center, this is when the northern hemisphere have their summers, because the sun is directly above them, above the North Star, above Polaris at the center. When it's out here spiraling at the edges, this is when the people of the southern hemisphere have their summers. So let's just recap on what we've discussed so far, what we've established so far. We've established that our universe is inside a torus field, a giant torus field. What most ancient cultures refer to as the cosmic egg. Similar to this, right? This is the top half of the cosmic egg. And we live inside this torus field. We've also established that there is a cosmic vortex that runs through the center of this cosmic egg. This is the cosmic highway that links us with the multiverse on the outside. Okay? We've also established that on the inside, the Earth is pretty much flat, or it's a pyramid Bhumandala, as I like to call it, that runs across the equator inside our torus field. Okay? With 4 concentric rings of land, right? At the center, where the cosmic axis or the cosmic highway runs through, where we are, the second ring, the third ring, and the fourth ring, and the torus field on the outside. Okay? We've also established that each of these worlds has its own toroidal field. Okay? So torus field within a torus field within a torus field within a torus field. 5 in total. 4 on the inside, the 5th one being the outside one, the cosmic egg. Okay? Right? We've established that each of these toroidal fields also has its own sun and moon. Saturn and Jupiter revolving around the outer torus field. Mars and Venus on the next toroidal field. Apollo and Artemis, or our sun and moon, on our torus field. But in the center, there is only one androgynous sun and moon, which is Mercury on the inside. Okay? On this torus field, the aurora borealis. Okay? Right. So we basically said it looks something like that. Okay? Torus field within a torus field. Right? With all the suns and all the moons. Okay? Right. The next question, or the next natural question, would be, well, what's above these toroidal fields? Okay? Above that, above all the toroidal fields, we've got something known as the firmament. Okay? This is where the stars are. This is what we see when you look up at the sky in the evening. All the stars and the constellations. This is the firmament that sits above the last inner toroidal field, the one that Saturn and Jupiter revolves around. Okay, so that will be the cosmic egg on top. In fact, I'll put it together so you can see it full scale on the model. Okay, please bear with me. Okay, so hopefully, okay, so that's what it looks like, right? This would be the firmament inside this Taurus egg, okay? The sky that runs across, okay? So it's almost like a dome, okay? So we're sealed off from these realms above, and I'll explain all that in a second, right? So when we're looking at it from underneath, when we're sat on the Earth, we're seeing all the constellations revolving above us, okay? So pretty straightforward, really. So that's the firmament, okay? So this firmament, on its axis, right, is revolving, okay? There's motion, everything's moving above us, but the terra firma we're standing on is obviously not moving, okay? So this axis is revolving, it's turning the firmament with all the stars and the constellations and everything else. In turn, it's also affecting the motions of these toroidal fields that are spinning around us, like we discussed earlier on. Those toroidal fields are also carrying the suns and moons around, which is causing our days and nights and seasons and times, okay? And that in turn, that motion is also creating our weather, our winds, our currents, flows, airstreams, everything else. So it's one big system working together. It's a network starting from the cosmic vortex. Okay, so I hope that is clear enough. Okay, so what that would look like is something like this. Okay, now interestingly enough, okay, we talked about the planets. I suppose many people will be asking, what about Uranus and Neptune and Pluto? Okay, so I think Uranus and Neptune are the two realms above. Okay, so Uranus is the firmament above us. Why am I saying this? Well, Mother Gaia, we all know, is Earth in Greek mythology. Okay, Gaia was married to Uranus. Right? The planet Uranus, as they tell us, Uranus, was named after Gaia's husband, Uranus. Uranus married to Uranus. These two are married, okay? They go hand in hand. Same thing with Hermetic Egyptian mythology, okay? You've got Mother Geb. She was married to the Egyptian god Nut. And Nut is always depicted as the sky, okay? So Uranus, Nut, Uranus, same thing, okay? They also tell us that Uranus and Neptune are kind of planets, but they're exoplanets. They don't go in the same category as these 7 wandering stars, okay? They put in a different category, and that's the reason why, okay? Pluto the planet Pluto was named after the Greek god of the underworlds, and that's because Pluto is the firmament below us. As above, so below. There's a firmament above us, but there's also a firmament below us, okay? Below the great sea, the great deep, the Brahmaloka ocean, as the Vedics called it, okay? So that tells me syncretically that there is a firmament and what the firmament is, and that shows you how I've come to that conclusion, okay? Above that, you've got Neptune. Neptune was named after the keeper of the waters, okay? Which waters? The waters above and the waters below, okay? So Neptune is the keeper of the waters. This is the next realm. By the way, these realms above the firmament are very transcendental. We cannot go to these planets naturally. We all know that, okay? These are luminaries. These are suns and moons. We can't go to the suns or the moons, okay? outer space does exist, like I said. It's beyond these Van Allen belts and these lands beyond. This would be outer space, okay? Definitely, we cannot go up here. This place is very, very transcendental. It's spiritual. You can only go there as a soul or a spirit or a star. All the same thing, okay? This is the only time you can go up there, and I'll explain all that in a minute, okay? So mainstream science tells us that there is Uranus, Neptune, and I'll explain how the heavens work. So there are 4 heavens and there are 4 hells. In fact, the Vedics say there are 7 heavenly realms and 7 hellish realms. Again, we'll go through that in a second. So mainstream science tells us that there's the Milky Way galaxy, Andromeda galaxy, and the Omega galaxy, and then the point of singularity. Okay, this is where Polaris is. Polaris is right at the top, okay? Right in the center of the axis, the cosmic axis. Right, everything is spinning around Polaris, just like we witness with our eyes. When you look up at the North Star, Polaris, you see all the stars are revolving, yeah, around Polaris. Okay, Polaris is Brahma, the creator. This is Big Brother. So when you see that triangle with the eye that these elites show us, this is what they're trying to tell us, that Big Brother is watching. Okay, unfortunately, they're twisting it and usurping it and making it very occult. It shouldn't be an occult thing. This is something everyone should know. Okay, this is Big Brother. This is our father. This is Brahma looking out for us, basically. Okay, so, right. Let's see what mainstream science says before we move on about the universe. So mainstream science tells us that we've got the 7 planets, right? We've got Uranus. In fact, they're saying the beginning was the Big Bang, the point of singularity, okay? This is where the Sirius star system is, so they tell us. But they make it very, they try and make it like it's a physical thing. But these places are very much transcendental. They're not physical places. These are spiritual, very higher divine. They, you know, we shouldn't try and debase it and make it sound very, very simplistic, because it's not. It's extreme. It's way beyond our comprehension. But I'm just going to try and relay it the way we're taught in schools. Okay. The Big Bang, point of singularity. This is where everything begins. The next galaxy is Omega Centauri. Okay. Below that is the Andromeda galaxy. Below that is the Milky Way, or Uranus, the firmament. And then we've got all our wandering stars below that. That's what mainstream science says, okay? And Pluto at the bottom. Pluto is always an exoplanet. They debate about whether Pluto is a planet or it's not. Do we count it, don't we? And this is why. Because Pluto is the firmament below us, okay? Right. Let's have a look at what the Vedics say about our cosmology. So the Vedics go into a lot more detail, right? The Vedics say there are 7 heavenly realms and there are 7 hellish realms, okay? The top realm is called Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. Like we said, point of singularity, where everything began. The North Star, God, this is the Holy Trinity. This is where they all began. This is where everything started, like I keep saying. The next round down, they're called the Tapaloka, okay? Right? The next round down is the Yanaloka, and then the Mahaloka, right? Or the Sphaloka. Spha as in stars, okay? This is now the firmament that we're showing with all the stars and the constellations, what we see when we look up, okay? They call this axis mundi, or where this point meets, the Dhruva, okay? This is where this is where we see the skies meeting with the cosmic axis, or the pole star, the Dhruva, okay? This is the Merudanda that runs through the cosmic axis, okay? And then they name all the different stars. They call Saturn Sanaisuru. They call Jupiter Brahaspati, Mars Mangal, Venus Sikuru, our sun Surya, our moon Chandra, and Mercury at the center, Buddha. Buddha, why Buddha? Buddha the messenger. Okay, Buddha was the messenger of God. I'm going to explain why that is important and why Buddha is the messenger at the center. That's very important. They then tell us that there is a Bhuloka, okay, Bhu world, the world of Earth, Bhu, and this is the Bhu Mandala, okay, the earthly plane, right, with the 4 concentric, they tell us they're concentric rings of land on the Bhu Mandala, okay, and they name all these different lands, which I won't go into right now, but we'll do that for another video, okay. So these are now the 7 heavenly realms, the Varthis, they call them, okay. By the way, they split this egg into 3 as well, right? The Swaglokas, the heavens, the Bhulokas, the middle realm, and the Vatalokas, the hellish realms. Okay? So now we've got 7 on top. What are the 7 below? The 7 below are the first part of inner earth. So remember we said there are 2 parts of inner earth. Gaia, Mother Earth, had 2 children, Prometheus and Epimetheus. Okay? So Atalaloka is the first part of inner earth. I think this is where all the tunnels are. I'll explain that in a second anyway. The next realm would be the Vitalaloka, okay? That's the next hellish realm. Below that, you've got the Sutalaloka, which is the great deep in the Gabadoka Ocean, the great ocean, the turtle. We always see it depicted in many ancient depictions of the earth, the flat earth, sitting on a turtle. This is the turtle. This is what that means. The turtle is the great ocean below us that the earth is sitting on. It's not an actual turtle like people say. It's the great ocean. Below that, we've got the 4 hellish realms. The Talatalaloka, the Mahatalaloka, the Rasatalaloka, and the Patalaloka. And then you've got Shiva in hell, so to speak. Okay? So that's the 7 hellish realms. 7 heavenly realms, 7 hellish realms. So the Vedic scriptures go into a lot of detail. They even go into figures, how big this Bhumandala is. They say it's 8 billion miles across, 8 billion kilometers across. Okay? They give so much detail for those who want to read into that and study that. Let's look at what the Norse said about the universe. Okay? So the Norse also divided it into 3. They've got Valhalla or Asgard, which are the heavenly realms. Okay, they've got Midgard, Middle Garden. This is where we are. Okay, and then they've got Helem, which is the hellish realms below us. Okay, so they've got Valhalla, where Odin is, sorry, abode of Odin. Okay, you've got Gimle, the 3 realms, Gimle, Valhalla, and Himmelborg. These are the 3 heavens that they talk about. These 3 up here. The 4th one being the abode of Odin. Okay, and then you've got the Alfheim realm. Okay, Alfheim. I think they called it the realm of the little elves. Little elves referring to the stars, because that's what they saw. When they saw the lights in the sky, they called them the little elves. This is Alfheim. Okay, they're named, and of course you've got the Bifrost Bridge. Okay, as in the Cosmic Highway, Bifrost Bridge, self-explanatory. Right? They named all the planets. They named Saturn, Woden, Jupiter, Frigg. These were named after gods. Mars, Tyre, Venus, Freya, the sun, Suna, our moon, Mani. Okay? And then they named Mercury, Hermod, who was also a god of a messenger of some sort. Again, that is very important. That messenger is very important. Of course, these all had their roles. The most common ones are obviously the messenger and Saturn, time. Saturn's always associated with time, Father Time. And I'll explain exactly why that is in a minute as well. Okay? The Norse also described these lands in great detail. Okay? They called this whole part Midgard, the Middle Garden, but they also called the crater continent. I'll show you. They also call the crater continent at the center Midgard, the Middle Garden, right in the center. Okay, so where Eden, where Shambhala is, that's Midgard. Okay, as you can see, right? Below that, they called Inner Earth, inside the Pyramid Bhumandala, the realm of the Svatylum. Okay, Svatylum meaning realm of stone spirits or dark spirits. I'm sure you can decipher what that means yourselves, okay? And then you've got Iga, which is the great deep, mother of the great deep, mother of the great oceans. And then you've got the realm of Loki, the bad guy, right? Loki at the bottom, Helm, right? So these Nordics, the Norse, they describe these lands in very great detail. Midgard at the center, the middle garden, naturally, okay? This is Vanaheim, the land of the Vanir. Vanir referring to children of God, okay? The gods in Asgard at the top were called the Aesir gods, the gods of the gods. The gods where we are, the Vanir, were children of the Aesir gods. So they considered the beings that live here to be children of the Aesir gods, of the gods of the gods. Vanaheim. It's interesting because where I come from, in Africa, in Zimbabwe, the Shona word for children is Vana. So I was trying to decipher what Vanaheim was. I couldn't figure it out. Okay, so I used etymology, again, something that I've learned from Santos and syncretism. And I connected the dots. Well, Vanir, Vana, children. Vanir were children of the gods. Vanaheim, land of the children of gods. Vanaheim. And that's how I came to that conclusion. They then tell us there's a place called the Nephilim, okay? The realm of frost and ice, okay? This is the Nephilim, the ice wall. This is what they call the Nephilim, okay? And beyond that is where the Jutoinim live. Beyond the Nephilim is the land of the Jutoinim, the frost and ice giants, so they call them. So we see in a lot of mythology, they talk about the Nephilim, fallen angels, right? In the Bible, it talks about the Nephilim, fallen angels, right? Well, you can connect the dots yourself, you know, how that's all linking with the Bible. Norse mythology and the Bible, connecting right there. Beyond that, they say there is the Muspelem, okay? Muspelem, the land of the fire giants, or the fire demons, whatever that means, okay? So you've got Midgard, Vanaheim, the Nephilim, ice wall, Jutoinim, beyond the Nephilim, and Muspelem, okay? Underneath that is where you've got Svartalem, like I said earlier on, the realm of the stone giants, okay? Or the dark giants. Oh, not stone giants, the stone dwarfs, or dark spirits, inner earth, okay? This is where maybe you get a lot of conspiracy theorists or alternative researchers who talk about the reptilians. Perhaps this is where they come from, these reptilians that we're always talking about, from inner earth, inside the Bhumandala, or possibly from the great deep, who knows, right? Doesn't really matter at this point, okay? I could do the same thing with Norse, or with the Greek. I syncretized the Greek as well. The Greek, you know, Uranus, like I said, Uranus. Uranus was married to Gaia, right? You've got Zeus at the top. You've got Hera, who was Zeus's wife, so that's the next round. You've got Poseidon. You've got Polos, which is the North Star, and Zeus. They named the planets. They named this the ether, by the way. They actually named it the ether, right? They named the planets. Saturn was Kronos. Jupiter was named after Zeus, so Jupiter is Zeus as well. Mars is Ares. Venus is Aphrodite. Our sun was Apollo. Our moon was Artemis. And then you've got Hermes, the messenger, again, at the center. Kronos for the time, Hermes the messenger. Okay, Kronos is first, time. Hermes is the last one, the messenger. All of these also had their own different roles and their own different things, okay? Then you've got Mother Gaia with the two children, Prometheus and Epimetheus, okay? And then at the top, you've got Atlantis. This top bit is Atlantis, the concentric rings of Atlantis. The center, as you notice, is a crater continent now, okay? This is the sunken continent of Atlantis. This is where that myth comes of the sunken continent. Remember earlier on I said, I think there was a capstone, okay? I think this land was not always a crater, but something happened for it to become a crater. It was actually above, so it was a proper pyramid. Interestingly enough, if you look at the pyramids in Egypt, yeah, the Great Pyramid in Egypt, it's missing the capstone at the top. I think that's symbolical. The ancients were trying to tell us something, okay? So if you go to Egypt and you look at the biggest pyramid, I forgot what it's called, the capstone is missing. On our pyramid, on the earth, the capstone is also missing. Okay? Interesting. It's now a crater. So they were telling us something there, right? Back to this, okay? And then you've got Pontus, below Mother Gaia. You've got Pontus, who was the keeper of the seas. And then you've got Hades, right? In Tartarus. They call Tartarus hell, and Hades resides in Tartarus. Okay? So that's Greek mythology, right? And then the chaos on the outside. You could do the same thing with the Egyptians, okay? Right? The Egyptians, you've got Amun at the top, right? Amen, Amun, God at the top, the creator, right? You've got Neith, his wife. You've got Hathor. You've got Nut, who's married to Gaia, okay? The husband of Mother Geb, not Gaia, Mother Geb. So Geb and Nut are husband and wife. The firmament above us and the earth below us, okay? They also named all the stars, all the wandering stars, okay? Saturn, now this is quite controversial. This is just my own secret. This is not confirmed. This was just me coming up, trying to decipher it myself. It could be wrong. If someone can correct me, that'd be great. But I think Osiris is Saturn. That's Osiris, okay? Isis is Jupiter, okay? Deshir, for sure I know, is Mars. Sekhmet, again for sure I know, is Venus. Ra, for sure I know, is our sun, Ra. I think everyone knows that. And Khonsu is the moon, okay? And then you've got Thoth, for sure I know, again, messenger, okay? And then you've got Horus, the god Horus, keeper of the winds. Which winds? These winds. Toroidal field, the toroidal fields around the earth. These are the winds. So when they say this is the keeper of the winds, these are the winds that it's keeping. Okay? By the way, you read in the Bible and in other scriptures, they talk about the four corners of the earth. These are the four corners of the earth. Okay? The four rounds are the four corners. The four winds. They talk about the four winds in the Bible. Which are the four winds? The four Taurus fields. These are the four winds talked about in the Bible. Okay? And then below that, the Egyptians, the Kemetic Egyptians, they called the great deep Mother Sobek. Sobek, the keeper of the waters. Okay? And then you've got Atum, the tomb, right? At the bottom. Okay? And that is Kemetic Greek universe inside the cosmic egg. Okay? Right. So, let's move on to the next bit. Okay, we've established okay, let's talk about the ages. Okay, in particularly in the Indian cultures, they talk about the four ages. Okay, these are ages of consciousness. So everything is cyclical in life. You know, there are peaks and troughs. There are times when consciousness is up, and there are times when consciousness is down. For all the beings that live on the Brahmandala, there are different beings, different races, different nationalities, all along this Brahmandala, okay? So this is what we might call aliens beyond our ice wall. We might call these aliens, but they are beings just like we are beings here. And they will call us aliens as well. So aliens do exist, and outer space does exist. But it's not like we've been told, or you know, that it's on the planets. It's on the lands beyond. Okay? So, this is really important. Really, really important. I need to explain this. The ages. Okay? So, the Indians talk about the four ages. Okay? The Kali Yuga, the Dwapara Yuga, the Treta Yuga, and the Satya Yuga. Right? The bronze, no, the iron, the bronze, the silver, and the golden age. These are ages of consciousness, okay? These ages are determined by many things. They're determined by the constellations above us, right? In Greek mythology, these would be the gods. Everything above in these realms, these are the gods and goddesses that look after us, the big brothers and big sisters, okay? The suns and the moons that revolve around us, these were called the Olympians. These are the demigods that look after us. subconsciously, okay? They determine the ages. And we, on the earth, on the Bhumandala, we are all the titans, okay? The soldiers that are living out the whole script of the whole thing. So all of this is a stage, okay? We are on the main stage. We are we're on the stage of creation, on the Bhumandala, okay? And these are the directors, if you want to think of it in movie terms. These are the ones directing the scripts and the programs, right? There is free will, I'm saying that, but don't think that we don't have free will. We do have free will, but on a grand scheme, there is a script within that narrative. Otherwise, you'd just be crazy to be chaotic. There has to be a cycle, there has to be order to all of this. None of this is just random and chaotic. There's an order, there's a cycle, there's a system to all of it. Okay? So, interesting enough, I noticed something very interesting, right? These toroidal fields, the Van Allen belts that are around all the Earths, okay, these are constantly growing, expanding, and contracting. Okay, this is what creates our ages. In the Vedic scriptures, they talk about a 26,000 year cycle of consciousness. Every 26,000 years, we shift within that 26,000 years from the Iron to the Golden Age. So every 6,400 and whatever years, we go from one age into another. Okay? And even within that, there are ages, which are what we call the zodiacal ages. The age of Aquarius, the age of Aries, the age of, all the zodiac constellations. And those are all conscious ages. So there are smaller ages within bigger ages within bigger ages. Okay, so everything is cyclical. Okay, so there's a 26,000 year cycle, and then within that, there's a 6,400 year cycle. Within that, there's a 2,100 year cycle. Okay, we've just come out of the age of Pisces, which was the whole Jesus thing, fish, Pisces. We're now going into the age of Aquarius, the water bearer. Okay, Aquarius is technology. Aquarius is coming together. Aquarius is the mixing water. Aquarius is always a man or a woman pouring water, pitcher of water, mixing the waters. This is now where things are now being mixed. Knowledge is coming out. Technology. This is the age of Aquarius. Okay? This is where we are now. Right? So these toroidal fields, the Van Allen belts, the Aurora Borealis and all that, they have a significance in that. So we're at a very, very special point at the moment, right? Because we're shifting, we're approaching a 6,400 year cycle shift, which also coincides with the 2,100 year cycle. So not only are we shifting consciously, like we did in the last shift during the age of Jesus or Pisces, we're now shifting physically. Like I said, these toroidal fields are expanding and contracting. During the Golden Age, there are no toroidal fields inside our universe. Okay, let me find a proper one, just so we can see it properly. Okay, there are no torus fields in our universe in the Golden Age. Everything's connected. We are at the peak of consciousness everywhere in the universe. Yeah, it's the golden egg. Okay, all these toroidal fields expand outwards over time. It's almost like the cosmic egg is breathing in and out. The womb of creation breathes in and breathes out, breathes in and breathes out. And these toroidal fields follow that breath created by the axis mundi. Okay, so when God, okay, is breathing in, okay, Brahma, this is when the torus fields are spreading out. This is over thousands of years. And breathing in, the torus fields close again. We're now in the dark age. Out and in. At the moment, we are ascending. We're on the upward cycle. Okay? So the torus fields are expanding. This is what is causing this conscious awakening that is happening at the moment. This is why we are consciously waking up at the moment. Because we are picking up the frequencies, okay, of this toroidal field at the center, the Aurora Borealis, coming from the messenger, okay, the demigod Mercury, Hermes, Thoth, Buddha, at the center. Remember, everything's interlinked. They tell us, mainstream science, at the center, in the magnetosphere at the North Pole, there is an electromagnetic field that's being affected by the sun. Which sun? This sun. The black sun of intent. Rahu. This is it, at the center. So the frequencies we're picking up subconsciously that are creating this awakening that we're all talking about, the vegan movement, the flat earth movement, people just questioning government, you know, what's happening with Trump, with everything, all this craziness. People are now becoming more aware. Before, we never questioned. We just followed whatever we're told by governments. Now we are questioning things a lot more. Why? We're getting more intelligent. We're waking up. What's waking us up? It's this energy that is growing out of Eden, out of this Taurus field, and heading towards the outer bits. So we're heading towards the golden age. We're now coming out of the dark age. In the dark age, all of them are closed in. As we head towards the golden age, they open up until they are assimilated into the outermost, into the egg. And there's nothing. And then everything grows back again, and we descend back into the dark ages of consciousness. Everything's closed off again, including our minds, physically and metaphysically, spiritually and mentally. Okay? So, likewise, the toroidal field around where we are, around here, is also spreading outwards. It's also opening up. Okay? So you hear NASA, they were telling us, or mainstream science, for a long time they were worried about the ozone layer opening at the North Pole, okay? Which would bring an end, which would be the end of the world, which would destroy the world, the ozone layer. Well, there's some truth in that. The ozone layer is this Taurus field growing out. And it will destroy the world, but not physically, metaphysically. It will destroy the paradigm. A new age will come in. That's the apocalypse they're worried about. Their paradigm, these elites that run the world, they're worried that their age of ruling over the masses will end. And it is ending because people are waking up. We're questioning now, right? We're not just following. We're now researching and thinking for ourselves, okay? Because the ozone layer is opening up, okay? This Taurus field is growing at the center. And we are picking up the frequencies. Well, most of us, some of us. Not everyone will. This happens really slowly. Okay, there's a process to it. It can't happen in an instant. It has to happen slowly and gradually. Some will pick this up a lot quicker than others. Some are waking up quicker than others. Some need time. Some won't wake up. Some will die asleep. And that's fine. And they'll reincarnate. And they might wake up in the next reincarnation. Okay, and likewise. So this outer field is also expanding. Okay, the Van Allen belt. They're telling us that very soon they'll be able to leave the Van Allen belt. They're very excited about going to Mars. They were saying that we can't leave the Van Allen belt, but soon humans will be able to leave the Van Allen belt. Okay? And that's because the frequency is changing, A, and B, the Van Allen belt is growing outwards as well. Okay? So there'll be holes in this ozone layer as well. Right? So this is a very special time for everyone on this Bhumandala. I think the people out here, or the beings out here, they're also having their own conscious shift of some sort, right? Some of them will probably be getting ready to come in, the good ones, and the bad ones will be getting ready to go outwards. Because in is always good. You want to go in and up rather than out and down, which I'll explain in the next video. Okay? So this is what's happening. This is the conscious shift that is currently taking place, right? We need to be picking up these frequencies and we need to be aware of what's happening. Okay, in the Bible, by the way, it talks about the North Star. There's the story of the birth of Jesus Christ, right? And the three kings were told that when you see the North Star in the sky, that is what you should follow. Follow the North Star. And that North Star will lead you to where Christ is being born. Okay, so that story is an allegory of what's happening now, right? Our ancestors, or we, were trying to tell our future selves something because we've all reincarnated thousands of times. So our ancestors are us, okay? The North Star, in this case, is the messenger of God, Buddha, Hermes. Okay, when you see the North Star in the sky, follow Christ consciousness, at the center. This is where Christ is being born, right? So eventually this whole thing will be golden age, but it starts from the center, okay? It's spreading from the center outwards. So those who are not in this frequency, are not on this journey, they will run away from this frequency, okay? They want to go as far away from it. These elites, they want to go to Mars. They're running away from this divine frequency because they are not, it's not their soul path, it's not their journey. And I'll talk about that in the next video, okay? Those of us who are ascending, who are on the way up on the cycle, we are picking up these frequencies and we are being drawn to there. Some are not being drawn anywhere. They're not feeling any of this. They are meant to carry on playing the game on this stage here. They've not learnt enough. They're not ready to move on either way, in or out, right? They are meant to carry on the paradigm here, the new world order here. Okay? The new age. Okay? And hopefully it will be a good one. And I think it will because we're ascending consciously. Right? Right. Next, I want to talk about reincarnation and the cycle of life. Okay? So this is now more metaphysical. Okay? I can't prove any of this. I'm not saying it's absolutely true, but this is my understanding and perspective based on what I've researched and what I feel, my knowledge, and you know, it could be wrong. If people can correct me, that's fine. If people resonate with it, great. If you don't, that's okay too. Okay? So, remember earlier on I said that we're all stars. Everything is a star. And we are all reflections of God. Every single one of us. Everything that is conscious is a fragment of the whole. The whole being Brahma at the top. Okay? God. So we are drops in the ocean of consciousness. Okay? So in the beginning was the Holy Trinity at the top. Okay? And they birthed many, many souls, including you and me. Right now, okay, we are souls birthed out of the whole, out of God. Tells us in the Bible, God breathed air into Adam, right? So that air is consciousness, okay? That is what consciousness is. The Holy Spirit, that is what we are. We are Holy Spirits. Everything is a star. All is a tune. All is a moon, as Santos always says. So, this is where we were. Remember, we're talking about the different realms, the 14 different realms that the Vedics talk about, okay? And this is where the cycle of life happens, and this is how the cycle of life happens. So first, you're one with the whole. You are there born or created as a soul, individual soul. You then become a fallen angel. So you experience independentness for the first time in this top realm, which is... let me get this correct. Okay? Which is the Tapaloka in Vedic cosmology. This is where you experience your first life as a single soul, as an individual soul, right? You then go into the Yanaloka, right? You become a fallen angel again, right? You then go into the Mahaloka, you're a fallen angel again. And all this time, you're falling in consciousness as well, okay? So the further you are from source, the further down your consciousness is falling. Okay? Right? And up here, you're still in the heavens. You're still an angel. But you're becoming a fallen angel, like it says in the Bible. Okay? Once you leave the Mahaloka, the stars, once you leave the skies, you're no longer an angel now. You're now in time. This is where time comes in. Kronos, Saturn, Father Time, Sine Suru, Father Time. This is the first place you incarnate into. You incarnate into the planet Saturn. You then become a demigod, right? As the Greeks put it, right? You're now influencing, yeah? You're now a director, you know, of the Titans. We are the Titans on Earth, okay? So you do your time in there. You then reincarnate down to the next sun, which is Mars, okay? You're now influencing the beings on those lands where Mars is. And then you incarnate into the next one, which is our sun, Apollo. You're influencing the beings where we are. So right now in the sun, there are beings that are influencing us. So you hear this movement about people saying, I'm sun gazing. Okay, I look up in the sun and I sun gaze and I meditate and whatever. That's because you're communicating with the beings right now, the souls in the sun, subconsciously. That is what prayer is. That is what meditation is. You are trying to connect with souls in all these other realms, mainly in the suns. Okay? From the sun, your next incarnation is into Buddha, Hemrod, into Mercury. Okay? You're now a messenger. Okay? You're getting ready to deliver the message from the demigods to the titans. Okay? At this point, you're now maybe at 65% consciousness. Okay? You're now ready to descend into the physical. Right? And once you're in the physical, this is when you forget now. This is where we will now have the amnesia. Because now you're on the stage of creation. You're now truly an actor, acting out the directives and the ages and everything else. You're now experiencing your own simulation, as well as the collective one of wherever you are. So your first incarnation is into Shambhala, Eden. This is where you first become a fallen angel. You do your time in there, right? And after a while, you either reincarnate or sometimes physically, depending on the ages, but mostly you reincarnate into where we are, okay? And you now become a human being like we are now, okay? So these elites that are ruling us, these are fallen angels, and I think some of them are also beings from the underworld that are influencing us at the moment in the dark age for now. So these fallen angels, some of these elites that are ruling us, okay, this is why they've been a lot more intelligent than most of us for a while, okay, because they're fallen angels. They're coming from the center going outwards, okay, right? And we are going the other way, but the scales are balancing, right? We're getting to a stage where we're going to be balancing the scales very soon. Well, we are already. We're catching up. They are falling in consciousness. We are rising in consciousness, the rest of us, most of us, the good ones, okay? So once you've done your time here, you reincarnate many times through the moon, okay? The moons are processing centers or reincarnation realms where when your soul dies, you go into the moons, you assess yourself. No one judges you. You're not judged by anyone. You assess yourself and you come back and you work out your karma or whatever you need to work out. Because remember, the meaning of life is birth, experience, growth, and move on. So if you haven't learnt enough and you haven't grown enough, you must come back down and play again. Work out your karma and learn as much as you can before you can move on to the next stage. Okay? These beings, because they're fallen angels, okay, they automatically will be drawn to the worlds outside. Okay? Because they're going outwards and downwards. This is why these elites, right, the governments, they're obsessed with going to Mars, the outer lands. They're going outwards. Okay? They're on their way out and down. Right? Right? These worlds are not necessarily hellish, as in hell. I don't think so. But I think they are disconnected from nature and from source. There's a difference between intelligence and intellect. So there might be a lot of intellect out here, technology, you know, cities with amazing technology out here, but not so much knowledge, gnosis, okay? They're disconnected from nature and from things of transcendental things, spiritual things. Everything out here is very artificial, which is what you're seeing at the moment. They're preparing us. Everything is becoming very artificial. Robots, food, money, everything is becoming more and more artificial. Okay, there's this big AI movement happening at the moment. So the beings on the way down are attracted to these things, these artificial things. Okay? I'm not saying it's evil. I'm just saying that is your soul path or their soul paths. And then after that, your next stage will be the outer lands. Okay? Muspelem, the fire giants, whatever that means according to the Norse. After that, 40%, you're now in inner earth. You're now a reptilian, so to speak, inside the first part of the Bhumandala. Okay? I think the underside of the Bhumandala, I don't think this is a physical place you can go. This is when you reincarnate as a spirit again. You're now a spirit. You don't have a physical body, but you're a dark spirit now. Okay? Now you're a devil. You're a Shiva. You're a destroyer. Up here, you're a creator. Down here, you're a destroyer. So you're trying to gravitate people, right? You're influencing people up here as well, subconsciously, right? When they say that the devil has influenced you, these are the beings, the beings out in these worlds down here, trying to subconsciously influence you. All your bad thoughts, all your negative thoughts are coming from the frequencies from these beings under here. You then get to 30%, 25%, 20%, 15%, 10%. You know, there's hardly any light left in you. Okay? You're now truly, you know, a fallen angel in the truest sense of the word. Okay? But then you work your way back up again. Once you're down here, right, the cycle of life, you can't be here forever. You've got to come back up again. But this is all happening over millions or thousands of years or whatever. Okay? You then come back up again. 15, you are ascending. You're now becoming a shooting star. You're shooting back upwards. Okay? You go through all the different rounds again. The reverse. You're here, then you're here, and then you incarnate where we are. Okay? And then you get to the center. So those of us who are being drawn to goodness, to love, to truth, right? Those of us who are trying to change things for the better, okay? We are shooting stars. We are ascending, right? On the cycle of life. We're on our way up. And we're meeting in the middle with those descending. So you've got the good guys and the bad guys. And this is necessary for the cycle of life. This is duality. This is polarity. Good and bad. It has to happen. Fallen angels and shooting stars. Okay? Now remember, I put the suns on this side and the moons on this side. I did that deliberately. Okay? Except for that one is a sun and a moon. Okay? So when you're ascending, when you're way out, the moons, the mothers, are portals out. The suns are gateways in. So those descending come through the sun. Those ascending go through the moon. Okay? Males inseminate. Females give birth. Okay? If you can see, this looks like a brain, the cosmic egg, with the center, right? You've got the left-hand path, male principles, right-hand path, female principles. Okay? This is where all that esoteric stuff comes in. For those who are not afraid to research that and to try and understand it. Okay? So this is where you come out from the moon side. So you incarnate here, or you, in this case, we're going through a very special time. We can actually physically walk into the Garden of Eden. Okay? But we have to pick up these frequencies for those who want to make the pilgrimage. Not everyone will want to do this or can do this, but those who are ready to ascend, those who have learnt everything they need to learn, right? At the center, here where we are, there are those who are ready to move on to the next stage of life. Some need to incarnate, like I was saying, a few more times before they can move on. Okay? Others are ready to move on to the garden, to the center, to the next stage. I've done my time here. I feel like I need to move on. Okay? I need something new. I need a new experience. So this is where veganism comes in, or vegetarianism. This is where truth, love, and all those things come in the garden. Disconnecting from artificial, trying to connect with nature, sun gazing, loving animals and nature and all that. You're preparing yourself for the garden. You have to prepare yourself. Because if you don't, you cannot be able to withstand the frequencies here, because the frequencies in this dimension are much, much, much higher. Okay? So if you want to make the physical pilgrimage here, you need to be prepared. Okay? Because if you don't, you will just get, your body and your soul will not, you'll get zapped and you'll just reincarnate back here again. Back to square one. You'll die on your way there. Okay? Because the Van belt, the frequencies there, you will not be able to withstand them. So those of us, you hear me talking a lot about this pilgrimage to the North Pole. Follow the North Star when the time is right. I'm going to make a little prediction. I know they say you should never put dates or make prophecies, but I am. I'm going to say Vision 2020. 2020, I think this Aurora Borealis or Van Allen belt will be high enough for us to see the North Star, for us to see Mercury. This is Planet X that they talk about. This is planet Nibiru. They say that comes around every 26,000 years to destroy the world. This is it. But it's not a physical destruction. It's a metaphysical destruction. A new age. Okay? So when the time comes, and I think 2020, those who see the North Star and want to make the pilgrimage, not everyone, okay? If you don't want to, you don't have to. Your next incarnation could be in there. You can stay here and stay for a bit longer, and when you ascend or when your body dies, your soul can ascend into there and reincarnate into there. But I certainly feel like I want to make a physical pilgrimage when the time is right. Okay, when the time is right, we will make a mass pilgrimage and we'll know. It also says in the Bible that Christ will come like a thief in the night. Okay, what's Christ? Christ is the energy, Christ consciousness, the energy coming from this toroidal field at the center, from the messenger of God. That's Christ. That's coming like a thief in the night. I had my awakening last year, right? Overnight, like most people. One day I was on a spinning ball, I was eating meat, I was, following money. Something happened to me, my life changed. I realized where we are. We're not on a spinning ball. I changed my eating habits, etc., etc. My life changed. I became a better person. Okay? Christ got me. Christ consciousness came to me like a thief in the night. I wasn't expecting it, and it just happened. And I'm sure many watching this now have had a very similar experience. Okay? So this is where we are. Right? So, once you're there, you live out your life in the Garden of Eden. Okay? This is a very natural place. There's no technology. Well, there is technology, but it's more of a natural technology. It's a different type of technology. It's not artificial. Okay, nature has got magic. Magic exists, believe it or not, but I won't go into that now. It does exist. So the technology out here is a magical type of technology. It's not artificial like out here. Okay? So this place is not just sitting and gardening and doing nothing. There's a lot going on there. It's a beautiful place, the Garden of Eden. Okay? But you must be at the right frequencies. There's no hate there. There's no bad frequencies. Well, there is, but there is less. There's less duality there. Okay, it's not completely heaven, obviously. But it's closest thing we can get on earth to heaven. Heaven on earth, the closest thing. Okay? And this is where myself and many are being drawn to go. Some are not ready. Okay? This is the middle ground. This is half artificial, half Garden of Eden. You're in the middle of the two worlds. Middle of nature and technology. Artificial technology, natural technology. The middle. We're stuck in the middle. So some are being drawn to this artificial technology. Others are being drawn to nature and natural technology. Okay? And some are not ready to go either way. They will stay and enjoy life here on earth for a bit more. And experience and change and help with the ages. Eventually, all of this will be heaven on earth. When all the toroidal fields are completely spread out and, and one with the main one. This is when it's heaven on earth. This is when we're in the Satya Yuga, in the golden age. But this will happen really, really, really slowly. So you can see the shift. You can feel the shift. You can see what's happening right now with world governments, with world economies, with people questioning. There's a lot of turmoil going on. Everything must, before there's a new birth, the old must die. So it's going to be a very painful process over the next few years. A lot of things that seem negative will happen. A lot of bad things that we might think are bad will happen. But they have to happen because the old has to die for the new to begin. Okay? Because we're getting into a new age now. And these elites, they know this. Okay? And they are shaking in their boots because we're catching up. We're waking up and their consciousness, they're getting dumber. We're getting smarter. Okay? This is why they are trying to destroy everything before they go. Because they have to go. They have to go. They cannot withstand this frequency. This frequency is hurting them. This energy being sent from the center is not good for them. They do not like it. This is why they're trying to destroy Europe. You see this whole agenda in Europe with the whole immigration, divide and conquer, black versus white, immigrants versus not immigrants, etc., etc. They're doing that on purpose. Divide and conquer. Because they want to destroy everything here before they leave. If we can't have it, we want to burn it before we go. And then you can stay behind and rebuild it on your own. That is the agenda, ultimately. And they'll go out to Mars, running away, and eventually they'll be pushed so much out because they're on their way down. And only the good ones, the ones ascending, will be here during the golden age. Okay? So, going back to the cycle of life. Once you get to ascend into the messenger, when you're a demigod, you get into the moon, you get into Venus, you do Jupiter, you know, you're doing your time in all of those, you're raising in consciousness. And then after that, you become an angel again, right? You're a shooting star here. Now you're an angel again. You're at 85%, you're ascending. Okay? Now you're influencing things up here. You're a director of everything. You then ascend into there, 90, 95. And then after that, you don't become one with the whole. Now you are free. You exit the cosmic egg through the cosmic highway out into the multiverse. You're now free to explore and experience life in other cosmic eggs, in other experiences, in other worlds, in other universes. Okay? As a free soul. You are free forever. You will never die. Right? You go into another cosmic egg and you have your own experiences in there that are probably totally different to this. Right? And this is the cycle of life. And new souls will be being birthed. They do the cycle. They go out. And this is continuously happening. Cycles of life, of consciousness, of stars. That is what we truly are. We are stars wrapped in skin and flesh and bone. Soul, spirit. And even science, quantum science, is starting to realize this now. They're starting to tell us that we're not just flesh and bones. There's a lot more going on. And it's obvious to most people now, I think. Those who are awake know for sure. Okay? And that is the cycle of life. Okay? I hope I was clear, and I hope I wasn't going around in circles. Again, like I said, I'm not saying that everything I'm saying is 100% truth. A lot of it is my own understanding from what I've researched and from what I've learned from other people and from what I'm picking up from, you know, from the universe. It's my interpretation. If you resonate with it, or if you recognize it, or if you remember it, because remember, we are all our own ancestors because we've reincarnated. So this time is normally called the Great Remembrance because we are remembering things we've always known. For those who are tuning to the frequencies, you remember this stuff, this knowledge. Okay? So I feel like I'm remembering this. This feels like a distant memory to me. And I'm remembering it and I'm sharing it with you. And I'm seeing when I speak to people, a lot of people recognize and they go, oh, do you know what? This sounds familiar. It sounds right. I don't know it as fact, but it sounds right. Because your soul is remembering. You're waking up. So if you resonate with it and you get it, great. If you don't, that's fine too. Okay? By the way, I also think that there are souls here on earth right now, right, who are here to help. So perhaps they've ascended already a few times. They may be a few steps ahead. They may be at the moon stage or at the Venus stage or even at the Garden of Eden stage. But they chose to reincarnate and come back here to where we are to help with the shift. These are what a lot of esoteric circles call the starseed children or the indigo children. These special children that are born special in a way, I guess. So these are the children that are here to help ascend the process. There are many people on earth right now who say, I was born and I don't feel like I belong here. I don't feel like I belong in a body. I don't feel like, I feel like I'm here for a reason beyond just living. There's something going on from when they're born. There are many of these people here. And those, many of you listening now will recognize what I'm saying. Okay? I don't think I'm one of them personally. I might be because I've always had that feeling of there's something more to this, and I had my awakening at the age of 33 last year, and so perhaps I'm one of those souls who chose to come down and help with the ascension process, right? Perhaps I'm on the journey. I incarnated here, and perhaps I've been here, and who knows? But I think there are many things happening with this incarnation. So there are some who've come directly from these outer worlds and have incarnated. These are the new souls, the young souls. They are the old souls who've incarnated many times and who've learned, and they are now ready to move on. There are other souls who've come backwards. They were already ahead. They've now come back and they want to help with the ascension, and then they'll move on spiritually. So maybe they're not even meant to be going to the center at all in physical form. Maybe when they ascend, they are ascending upwards into the moons or whatever, spiritually. They're not going to be reincarnating into body in the next life. Okay? So many things going. Personally, I think I'm destined for the center. Okay? I still want to experience life in a physical body, but certainly not in the conditions we're in now. I'm certainly drawn to nature and living in harmony with the animals, with nature, and veganism, and love, and all those things. I'm not drawn to technology and the materialistic things in life. There's nothing wrong with those things. Those who enjoy them. That's fine. But there are many of us who feel more drawn to nature and to that side of things.
Wholeness and Balanced Vibrations family, it's been amazing sharing this message in connection with you, sending all the love and vibration through the galaxy to the ancestors. This is it. We're in the great stage of our existence. Let's explore and love and care for each other. Thank you so much for being you. Wholeness.